So you have a horse, he's 2-1. He's going to pay $6.40, right? You're going to bet $40 into the race, but all of it is contingent on this horse winning. You're going to bet exactas, you're going to bet tries, trying to make a score. All right, so you whiff on all of that, and meanwhile, you could have had 40 to win on the horse and got back $128 for your 40. You would have been up $84, right? Or $88. But why would you do that when you could fuck it up? That's what we do. And then show the guy your losing ticket with your bad breath. You just had a salami sandwich and, something that was laced with garlic. And you get right in the guy's face and, whoa, look at that. They left out the two. Like anybody wants to hear about your sorry losing ways, especially in those circumstances, because they're losing too. If you're, happen to know the guy's winning, maybe he throws you a couple of bucks and says, here's the forest. Get out of my face here. You're whining and you're fetching. Unbelievable. Nothing worse than a guy. Is there anything worse in a gambling situation than a guy showing you his losing ticket at the track?
Oh yeah, that's the worst. And you all do it constantly. Bitch.
Everybody, right?
Oh.
Look at that. I left out the two. Well, you're an asshole. That's why you left out the two. You lost. Just admit it. You're a lousy handicapper, a poor money manager, and you really have no business being here in the first place. And guess what? You haven't had a winning year in your life. But there we are. Every day.
The time. Wake up with Defo, joined by Lubie. Welcome to the Defo Show.
And a very pleasant good morning, everybody. Great to be with you on this fine Wednesday edition of the Defo Show. We don't know if it's going to be a fine edition of the show, but certainly good to be with you. Jeff DeForest and one Mike Lubitz, which I can't help but think that it looks like you're in some private investigator's office here with those boards in the back with the pictures clipped to the, what is that called? The
Imagination board or some crap.
Yeah.
For sure. It's like a goal board. I don't know.
Great stuff there. Now, does she have you at the top? I mean, can you peel that back or maybe turn the camera a little bit? Is your picture at the top of this thing that you're running this network of criminal activity?
I am at the top. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Both tops. Look at
you. It looks like she's conducting multiple investigations here into criminal activity in Coconut Creek.
I wouldn't doubt it.
All right. Good morning, Julian, by the way. Julian, one of our biggest fans. I always enjoy seeing his comments here and all of your comments on the chat line. Always welcome. And we should have a great time today. Tony Segreto goes all school with us later on. It's brought to you by Texas Roadhouse Restaurants and Catholic Health Services. Yesterday was just euphoria for any kind of sports fan. I didn't even realize this because I had seen, on TV that I saw Steve Goldstein, one of our former partners and a good friend, and now with a play-by-play voice of virtually everything here in town. I mean, he's replaced Rick Weaver. He's replaced Sonny Hirsch. I mean, just about everybody. It's all Steve Goldstein. And to his credit, a hard-working SOB. One of those guys, he had an attitude much like mine. If somebody offers you a job, don't turn it down, no matter what. Go ahead and take a shot, see where it goes. You can't do everything, but Goldie has evolved in a very natural fashion, and it's one of those good things that happens in the business sometimes, where the local guy who was the hard-working trench worker and did a lot of legwork early in his career, was doing pregame shows and halftime and in-between period shows on hockey on the radio. Not the easiest thing to do. You're schlepping in the arena every night. Then you have to give way to the main guy. He's been having a sandwich while you've been working for 3 hours trying to pump up the audience. And then he takes over and says, hey, shoots and scores, and gets all the glory, right? It's kind of like, the behind-the-scenes crew and a television shoot. They're working their ass off. And then who gets credit for the show? The guy that's doing the play-by-play. Yep. And everybody's, that was a great show. It's like, I really had very little to do with it. I stood there in front of the camera and went, hey, it should be a good fight tonight. Got two guys going to beat the shit out of each other. And you get all the credit for it. But always nice to see when the guy that did all of the hard legwork, I guess this happened with Boog Shambi also, who obviously has enough talent to carry this and perpetuate this, ended up being the play-by-play voice of the Cubs. Holy Harry Carey. That's up. Loved Harry Carey, but those are big shoes to fill. I don't know, the Chip Carey shoes were so big to fill. He might have been about a size 6. Who was he? Skip Carey was great, though. Skip Carey had kind of a really good approach. How many Careys were involved in broadcasting besides Harry Carey, who was legendary, speaking of old school? But anyway, nice to see when the guy that did all the legwork in the organization gets rewarded by the organization and actually gets to move up the ladder And I remember when Steve started doing that stuff on CBS 4 here in town. And he was going out. He said, well, I got to go out to the University of Miami and do some report. They want me to do it. First time doing it. Not paying a whole lot of money. And then what happens? He ends up getting the Dolphins preseason package as the play-by-play announcer. It's a pretty nice gig, too. I know all of those guys like Ian Eagle and these guys that have regular gigs in the NFL. They absolutely clean up by doing those preseason games. Pays very, very, very well. But I saw Steve on TV on Sunday night, and he was talking about the Thursday opener of the Florida Panthers. I guess they opened their regular season on Thursday. That's come up kind of quick. The hockey season already back upon us. And I didn't even realize that yesterday was opening night for a couple of teams, including the New York Rangers. I guess there were 4 teams involved altogether. The Rangers played the Tampa Bay Lightning and won. And then the Las Vegas Golden Knights, were on the road against the LA Kings. And that gets us into a little gambling interlude here. As once again, man, I'm telling you, everyone's going to be broke before too long, especially if you follow like logic. You cannot follow logic in sports gambling. Logic is not a good thing to equip yourself with.
Logic is bad.
This guy, Michael Leboff. Sounds French enough, doesn't it? Hey, Frenchie, who do you like in the game tonight? Essentially, this boils down to. Makes, again, an extremely eloquent and compelling case. I mean, this is, it's Barry Sheck with DNA. I mean, it's a beautiful case for the LA Kings to bet the LA Kings last night against the Las Vegas Golden Knights at home. And you're getting, you're laying a price. You're laying 115 to win 100. So you're laying a price here, and he comes up to the conclusion that the Kings should be the logical bet. Because the Golden Knights, they missed the playoffs for the first time in their, very brief franchise existence. But they were one of the brilliant stories of all time in terms of expansion teams, making it in their expansion year under the great Gerard Gallant all the way to the NHL Stanley Cup Final and putting up a pretty good fight there. And then, I guess Gallant fell out of favor. Did he tell another owner to go fuck himself? What was? Because I think that's what did him in here. With the Florida Panthers, even though he was somewhat successful. And he's done a great job with the Rangers, took over last year, had them in the Eastern Conference Final. They lost there. And a lot of people think the Rangers are a logical contender to win the Stanley Cup this year. But let me give you some of this dissection here, Lubie, just so you can get a sense, people, because it's almost like we're issuing the warning on a cigarette package every day about gambling by getting into this stuff. All right, here we go. Where do we start here? I'm going to try and condense this down a little bit. If you look at the numbers from last season, it makes sense that the betting market is having a tough time separating these two teams before opening night. All right. The Kings and Knights had similarly strong 5-on-5 numbers last year, so we got deeply into analytics on this. Similarly strong 5-on-5 numbers last season, but neither club has a goaltending tandem in which to be overly confident entering a new season. All right, so the goaltending sucks. You're thinking maybe you bet the over in this game.
Quick old? Jonathan Quick, is he old? The guy for the Kings, is he still there?
I don't even know. You're asking me hockey roster?
I don't know. You know more than
questions. I saw a couple of clips of the game. I couldn't tell you if Quick was in the pipes there, as they said. He says everything about this matchup screams coin flip. Screams coin flip. A good call by you, though, Lubie, to even be able to name a player. I still think Dave Taylor is out there playing.
Well, Quick's not good, is what last night's game shows me.
I don't know that he was bad. I mean, I'm not sure it was all his fault. I didn't see enough of the game to give you a judgment on the goaltending.
You have a whole thing.
Anyway, so he's saying that the game is a tight one, which is weird. And a tough call, but he's saying that the Las Vegas Golden Knights once again have to adjust to a new coaching staff, that they're not as good as they were, that they may make the playoffs again this year, but there's a good possibility that they miss, and that on opening night you should take the LA Kings at home at -115 against the Las Vegas Golden Knights. So what happens? The Golden Knights score in like the last 3 seconds and win the game 4-3. Money. Just flying away. That's that. Now, there was a good call here. I have to balance this out because there was a good call by Stitches, who has been hot during the baseball season. I don't know how hot he's been of late, but he's plus a significant number of units. As he puts it, he's up 1,506 Ralph Kiners for the season. He never
Nice.
mentions dollars, but whatever the unit is, I mean, he changes that up every day. And he actually took a chance, went out on a limb, went out on a little bit of a ledge yesterday, and said that Max Fried was going for the Atlanta Braves. This guy's a stud, going against the Philadelphia Phillies, who were improbable. I don't know how improbable they were, but they were underdogs against the St. Louis Cardinals. Cardinals were the higher seed, obviously, because they had the home games. Cardinals had a lot of sentiment going because they had the final year of Molina, and Pujols had been on fire, and Adam Wainwright, who's been pitching since the 30s. Did he strike out the Babe at one time? I think he did. Anyway, all these old geezers were going to be going for the St. Louis Cardinals, and they have a great fan base there in St. Louis. They really love their baseball. And they're going against the Phillies were going against Max Fried. The Phillies, of course, dispatched the Cardinals in 2 games. And he actually says, and the headline says, Max to be fried by Philly.
Oh, wow.
Fried, as in Fried, just a different pronunciation.
Like
and sure enough, he got torched. I don't think he got out of the 3rd inning, and the Phillies took a big lead in that game. Very, very exciting, though. And I happened to be lucky, and I was watching that climactic moment in the Houston Astros game. And they were taking on the Seattle Mariners. The Mariners, improbable victors over the Toronto Blue Jays on the road, beat them in 2 games, had that brilliant comeback in the 2nd game when they were down 8-1, came all the way back, won the game 10-9 in the 9th inning with some heroics. But, wow, you talk about reverse karma, Lubie. As great as that comeback was, the demise of the Seattle Mariners in this game that looked like at 2-1, they had it in the bag. Imagine you're a Mariners money line better. You took the Mariners and the price. Let's see what it was exactly here. I don't want to have to fudge the numbers for you, but yesterday the Mariners were you were getting plus 185 with the Mariners, and you had to lay 215 with Verlander. I think he's a certain Cy Young Award winner in the American League, is he not? Who else could win it?
He's better numbers than Alcantara. No, he's
Verlander was a sensation this year. Okay, so now he's well rested. He's going out there. He's just absolutely tough as nails in these kind of situations. Yep. And he's going against the Seattle Mariners, a team that was a stretch to get into the postseason. I mean, they were in a dogfight right down to the wire. I think they clinched like on the second to last day of the season, a playoff spot, and then went to Toronto and had a good time there, winning the 2 games against the Toronto Blue Jays. So you're thinking they're really up against it, the Seattle Mariners. Now they're leading this game. I think it was 7-3 at one point. Got to be 7-5. They get to the 9th inning, 2 men on. This was great, Lubie. I mean, this is what's fantastic and comes under the heading again of don't get cute. Can you say it together with me in unison here on 3? 1, 2, 3. Everybody. 1, 2, 3. Don't get cute. My God, I mean, what was this man thinking? I guess, and it's Scott Service is the manager. Scott Service is the manager.
Wow, I haven't heard that name.
Seattle Mariners, Scott Service, going against the veteran Dusty Baker, who I think fell into a really good spot here. Although, and I've told this story many times, I'm a huge Dusty Baker fan because he was such a gentleman when he was with the Dodgers, and I was covering the Dodgers at the time. Dr. Scald was his nickname. You know why, Lubie? Because he hit those scalding line drives right down the third base line. Man, he could line him into the left field corner. He was great. Dusty Baker. I want to say, about a 285 hitter for his career, somewhere in there. Was always, very, very proficient in terms of his batting average. Had reasonable power numbers, not an overwhelming home run hitter, but hit his share of home runs, knocked in his share of runs, and was a very competent all-around player. Dusty Baker. So I had great admiration for him. And as I was a young Cub reporter for a great metropolitan newspaper at the time, I guess, could you consider the Fontana Herald News a great metropolitan newspaper? The office door, was inundated with tumbleweed that was rolling by and happened to gather. When you talk about starting out in the boonies, holy shit. This is where it all began for me. It seems like where it's all ending. No, at least it's ending on the beach here in Lauderdale by the Sea, which is great, with our own station, no less. But anyway, so I was a big Dusty Baker fan because I remember doing some interviews, and it was a kinder, gentler time in sports for sure. And the Dodgers were a terrific organization in terms of being able to accommodate the press.
Access.
And a willingness to accommodate the press. They treated the press like gold, the Dodgers. And I believe they really cared about their fans at that time. I'm not sure. I mean, the team since been the O'Malleys were the owners then. They have new ownership, right? And different set of people in there. And actually, one of the reasons I guess that the Dodgers they were always press friendly, but their general manager was a guy that actually came from a newspaper background. And he was just very, very cool about the whole thing. They always took care of everybody. But you would go on the field a couple of hours before the game and be able to approach somebody if they weren't busy during batting practice or whatever. All the players are out there. They're playing pepper. They're doing this. And anybody, even the biggest stars, would sit down with you. Even the lowest schmenk on the journalistic totem pole and give you all the time that you wanted. And Dusty Baker was one of those guys. Steve Garvey was always very accommodating, but Baker was a guy that you felt like you had a little bit of a connection with after the conversation. A good guy. But did he not fall into a real pile of shit here? What was the controversy involving the Astros and their manager that led to Dusty Baker coming there? There was something going on there, and there was some ugliness, and then Dusty Baker fell into this spot. But anyway, so Scott Service, there are two away in the ninth inning. All right. The Astros have put a couple of guys on. Altuve strikes out. I believe the next batter was a guy named Pena. I didn't see how he made out, but the runners didn't advance, and he was out. All right. So now it's two away, and you have Yordan Alvarez, who some people consider to be the second most fearful hitter that you could face, second only to Aaron Judge. Yordan Alvarez. This guy is a monster left-handed hitter. All right, so what does Service do? He brings in, and don't get cute, Lubie. Don't get cute. He goes to the bullpen and brings in a starter, Robbie Ray, who has been completely ineffective in his last several starts, is inclined to give up home runs. What's the one thing that the last thing on earth you want to see is the guy belt one out of the park and win the game?
Oh, yeah.
So you have a guy that is just a flamethrower when it comes to home run balls. I mean, and this guy is a human blowtorch on the home run balls. And we've seen this so many times in playoff situations where starters do not make great relievers. And especially coming in a spot where they're inheriting base runners. They're not accustomed to doing this.
So they were up 7-5?
7-5, two away.
Oh, you can't have that.
The guy that was on the mound had just struck out Altuve, and the same guy had also gotten Pena to, making out harmlessly.
Pena singled and moved the guy to second. But
okay, okay, so that's how that transpired. The guy gave up a hit. All right, yeah. Two runners on. Alvarez at the plate, brings in Robbie Ray, a left-hander. Everybody's like, well, I don't know if this is such a good idea. Boom. I think it was the first pitch. A gargantuan home run. The place was going nuts for like a half hour after. It was one of the most dramatic finishes I've ever seen to any playoff game. Just absolutely fantastic. And you would have to think that was a death knell. I mean, you're talking about go ahead and pass the lithium to the fans. And beyond that, I may as well just open up a cyanide cap right there if you were the Mariners and you thought you had a chance in this series, because they had game one in the bag, in their grasp, and boom. I mean, the beauty of baseball, you're never out of it because there's no clock. And the Astros prevail in that one, and the Yankees shaking a little bit in their boots. Although they had no trouble against what has become an extremely inept offense with the Cleveland Guardians. Almost said Indians there. Guardians. As Yankees, I don't know. Garrett Cole wasn't exactly razor sharp in this game, but he ended up, getting out of it relatively unscathed as he only gave up the one run. He had the bases loaded, I think, in the third inning and dropped a beautiful slow curveball in for a swinging strike to get out of that mess. And then the Yankees went on and prevailed as the Indians now, the Guardians, they're Indian, I said it. Guardians have scored 4 runs in about 33 or 34 innings so far in the postseason. Offense has gone to sleep.
Jesus.
So the Yankees prevailed there, and that was more than expected. But 4 baseball games all day long. Could you have asked for any more? I remember when I used to have to. I'm sure a lot of you guys did it. I know Andy probably was one of those guys. Faked a stomach ache to stay home and watch the weekday day game of the World Series when the Yankees were involved, almost on a routine basis. World Series day games. Can you imagine? We're game 3 about to get underway here. Wow, we got some beautiful sunshine. I can hear Mel Allen still barking this out. And so you wanted to stay home, watch the game on WPIX. Who the hell wanted to be in school? And it was like, Now, my mother knew when I was faking a stomach ache. And I've told this story a few times because it still surprises me to this day. This was back in, I mean, you're talking way back in the day, Lubie, when doctors made house calls.
Mm.
You could call your doctor, and he would spend a little time in the office in the morning, whatever, seeing whatever patients he saw there. But almost everybody else had him like the milkman, the seltzer delivery man for Mike Mayo, who, by the way, has changed the spelling on his last name to Mayeaux in honor of the fact that he's gone French Canadian. There I am disparaging French Canadians and bitching about a $5 seltzer at a casino.
Mayo.
He was out last night, man. He was partying. Did you know that Mayo has dance moves? Did you have any idea?
I could feel it. A younger Mayo.
He was so inspired by this music last night, and I hate to give it away, and yet I love to turn people onto it.
Were you with him?
Well, he came out. I told him, I said, this guy that's playing at the Tipperary pub is a monster, and he's about to go on a European tour, so he's not going to be around locally for a while. And this is one of the great things about the local music scene is that these, I mean, internationally acclaimed professional musicians, they just love playing.
Yep.
It's about the love of the game. It's what we used to think about Brett Favre before he started stealing from the poor. He denies that, by the way, that he was aware of it.
I didn't know it was happening. He's like, dude, you're like in the text.
The text comes back from the former governor that says, I don't want to go to prison, Brett.
That says his name.
I don't know nothing about that. I mean, it goes Pentangeli. Welfare funds? I don't know nothing about that.
Oh, my God. I love it.
Well, what does this world come to, man? I mean, it's really a disaster. I mean, thank goodness I'm in the twilight years here. And I don't consider it that because I wake up every day thinking, wow, I mean, I'm still here.
You're strong.
And let's go have a great day. Yeah. Let's do the best that we can to get out of this thing in one piece. And, you can't take it with you. So I'm going to spend all the money I have. The Duke turned me onto this of Leslie Visser fame. The Duke, of course. We haven't seen the Duke for a while, but
they're okay. I haven't talked to them in a little bit.
I mean, he's as flush as any human being. He scored like 30 million years ago in the 80s in some stock transaction when he was operating a financial firm, and so he's been flush for the longest period of time. And you know what his philosophy is? I want to make sure the last check I write bounces like a Spalding, man.
That's funny. Good for him.
You can't take it with you. What are you going to do with it, right?
I mean, if your mom had that mentality, you wouldn't be so safe.
Well, I mean, I'm glad she left me a little chunk of cash, but I mean, I was okay before, and I always told her, when my mother would look at me with that concern and say, "What are you going to do, and when are you going to retire?" I said, I have no reason to retire, Ma. I love what I do.
Retirement. You go to the beach.
Retire from what? I mean, what am I going to do? Just be a vegetable all day? I don't know. I enjoy doing this. I love talking to people. I'm yapping all the time anyway. So why not do exactly what we're doing and get paid to do it? It's a great, great living. It was a tremendous choice. Very happy about that. But I said, Ma, I mean, I'm at this point 71 years old. I said, how the hell do you think I made it this far if I'm so completely inept that I can't handle like the last few years of my life? I mean, I put a kid through college. I did a lot of stuff that I wanted to do professionally. Had many years where I made, a very significant amount of cash by any standard, and not doing badly, even, in the twilight years here. I mean, but by normal standards, right? I'm not suffering any. But, she always assumed that I was just going straight to hell. And all life was going to be a disaster. Is that a byproduct of old age? I don't know. I don't think that way. I'm thinking, wow, lucky to be in this spot. Just absolutely.
Good for you.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only way to go.
Mayo with the dance moves. That's where that originated.
Yeah, Mayo. I mean, and we retagged him as an honorary French Canadian because who orders a seltzer anyway?
That's actually
some cheapskate that doesn't want to pay for a drink, and he's assuming it's going to be for free. and I still love the comment that was made to Mayo by the guy on Let's Eat South Florida that said, "You're paying $19 for a bowl of soup." He likes to justify everything too. I mean, he just doesn't want to accept that. You know what? You're right. I went there. I lost $500. I paid $20 for a bowl of soup. Well, what am I complaining about, right? It's $40 to valet park your car at this place on a Saturday night. You're getting robbed at every turn. I mean, there's no question. Unless you somehow luck out and hit one of those ice cold machines there, or win money playing poker. I guess that's on you. It's on your own skills. You're not really playing against the house in that spot. But yeah, I mean, you have to expect that you're going into that kind of a casino situation. You are going to get just hammered on any kind of purchase. No. So we made him an honorary French Canadian, and what was good was he was at Tropical Acres, and he decided to come to the Tipperary pub, which I'm reluctant to turn people on to. And I told him, you have to see this guy. This Matt Schofield is brilliant. And then on top of that, they added in some other guys who also are tremendous musicians. I mean, they put on. We stayed for the first set. It was about an hour long. It was brilliant, man. I mean, I don't know that you could have seen a better show anywhere in town or in the country. And this was a deal where you walk in for free. Now, last night, because of the guys they had there, it seems like, and this is, I mean, it's good in a way,
No,
but it's not for me.
That's a crowd.
Because now the people are starting to show up.
You hated it. You're like, damn, this was my spot.
It happened at the Funky Biscuit. I used to go in there on a Saturday night. Al Poliak was like with a gun to his head going, can you believe there's 4 people to see these guys? Right? And they'd have like a reunion of Cream there, right? Clapton, Ginger Baker when he was still alive, Jack Bruce. Like 4 people, Al. Hey, can you make any money doing this? And you're figuring, all right, this is a great thing, but it's going to be out of business sooner than later. And last night, though, it's not like they hold a lot of people in this joint, but Mayo became one of them and got up on the dance floor at one point.
Look at Mayo.
He only had like a beer and a half. I don't know how much wine he drank at Tropical Acres.
He had like a bottle, he said.
and it turns out he has fans everywhere. And some lady came up to him and said, hey, Mike, I can't believe you became a fetcher.
She actually gave him crap about the bitch.
Of course, Mustang was all over him.
I love it. That's great. Yeah. That's great.
But I mean, how much better could it get? You had brilliant music going on, and you had the ball games on TV, and then the Rangers. Like I said, I didn't realize the NHL season got underway last night.
You don't read the Sarnia report because Sarnia makes sure I know everything that's going on in the globe of sports.
It's hard to separate hockey, hockey preseason from regular season because it's like October 12th today. I don't know.
Did they have preseason? Oh yeah, preseason.
Yeah, they had a preseason. Yeah, they were running double headers. Remember?
Yeah.
It was classic. All right, so the Cats, I guess, open up tomorrow night. The Panthers, and what do you think, Louie? I mean, give me your assessment here. You have a new coach that you're not a fan of, even though we don't know much about this guy. I don't even know his name. Who is this?
I've heard of Paul Maurice. That's my thing. Is I thought, oh, that's an interesting hire, and then when I looked him up, everyone's like, doesn't win the big thing, doesn't get to the playoffs. If he gets there, doesn't win, fails. Like, oh, that's a good hire. Oh my God, you just went from a guy that actually did a good job. I didn't like Brunette in the long term, but he did a good job. And now you're going to the guy that's never done a good job. Okay.
Imagine how many razor blades these Seattle Mariners bettors had to swallow last night after. Oh my God, that was rough.
Run with 2 outs. Ugh.
2 outs, right?
That sucks.
And a move by a manager that is always of a questionable nature.
And when Baker came in, see, I thought there was a guy in between, so that's why I didn't jump in. Yeah. He was the guy that cleaned up the mess after the fucking cheating.
Right. Okay.
Jesse Baker, the safe guy. Remember, because he by that point he had people were like, okay, he's done, but he was the good guy, like you said. People respect him. He had won. He had no skeletons in his closet.
Did well with the Giants. Cincinnati is a tough place now.
He needed someone clean to come in and clean out all the garbage.
Right.
So Baker was their guy, and he's been there ever since.
Oh, no. And, he's one of those guys that I will perpetually root for because, I just, it's one of those things where, like what was the Coke commercial, right? Mean Joe Green.
Yeah. The Coke.
Where, if I was that little kid that Mean Joe Green gave a Coca-Cola to, and it's like I'll always feel good about Dusty Baker for that reason. I just still distinctly remember, how you can visualize certain things that you did in your life, Lubie?
Yes.
So, and this goes back, I mean, this is 50 years ago. I mean, it had to be, well, not quite 50, but close to it, like late 70s, as mid 70s, maybe like 75. And I remember sitting in the dugout with this guy. He actually said, I asked him, "Hey, Dusty," very meekly, I'm kind of shy about this at the time, especially. And I was like, "You got a minute?" And I got my little yellow tape recorder, which made me look like a complete clown. It looked like I was carrying a Mr. Microphone with me. And, and what is my affiliation? The Fontana Herald News.
Yeah, whatever.
Which it was 60 miles outside of Los Angeles, and yet, many people never heard of the town that lived in L.A., including Dusty Baker. Where's that?
Don't worry about it.
Bakersfield, yeah.
There you go.
May as well have been Bakersfield. But yeah, I mean, you remember those kind of things, right? Where somebody was very. He actually said to me, "Listen, why don't we sit down in the dugout here and we can talk for a little longer?"
Wow.
I'm like, really? Wow. So that puts you at ease. I mean, it's not like you're facing Devontae Adams and you're a cameraman trying to get that shot of the guy coming off the field there, and he sends you, into another area code, which the guy is now filing, police report against Devontae Adams. And that brings up an interesting thing because it's going on all around sports, and that is the whole look the other way approach with certain people that is taken by people in management. Now, would Vince Lombardi have stood for this? No. He would have suspended Adams for 2 games and said, "Hey, listen, our players don't do that. I don't care how valuable you are to the team. You just made yourself, absolutely of no value whatsoever. In fact, I don't want to see your face around here for a couple of weeks until you realize I don't care how much of a good guy you are." That was way beyond any kind of protocol that we want to adhere to here with the Green Bay Packers, or in this case, the Las Vegas Raiders. Josh McDaniels says nothing.
Yeah, that's weird. Well, it's like it's paparazzi at a restaurant. Like, it's so weird, the departure, because it's funny. You talk about the old days, but it's in my youth. I remember anywhere you went, you saw the Dolphins guys.
Yeah,
and they were always sending autographs.
Always accommodating.
Friendly, and they were always cool. And it was like, when you go to Marlins games, and you get there 2 hours early, and we would do it every time, and they would sign autographs, and they would talk to the kids. They talked to adults. It wasn't just a kids thing,
right?
Like, it's such a depart. Like, I don't get these guys. Like, I understand there's Twitter now, so you can make your own, but the media still exists for a reason. Like, and this wasn't even that. This is when it's a guy on the field like that, he's working with the broadcast in some way. Like,
could be NFL Films, could be a lot of things.
Working with someone that's a part of it, so he's a peer.
It turned out he was on the ESPN crew.
Exactly.
That was doing the game. Yeah.
Exactly. Like, I understand you're what I guess they were frustrated because the way
obviously frustrated. No, I mean these guys were so close to winning a game, and they're 1-4 now. A team that was supposed to do some damage here, and of course we were dead wrong. Talk about us being brilliant prognosticators. What we said this was just parroting what looked to be obvious. And had been said by everybody else that the AFC West was going to be the dynamite division in professional football. Now the Chiefs are always formidable, but they're vulnerable also. I guess you could say that of all teams, but the Chiefs have had, they lost a game improbable to what? The Indianapolis Colts, for God's sake.
Yeah,
suck. And they've been in a couple of dogfights, including a game that they, in all likelihood, should have lost there to the Las Vegas Raiders. You can't say that because they did win the game.
Yeah.
But they did more than their share of things in that ball game to make you think that they can be had. And as they say, you want to use the ultimate cliche, on any given Sunday, the Chiefs could be dog meat.
Well, and the Broncos look horrendous. The Chargers have been okay, but not been great. Like, so I get him being frustrated, but it's like, but it wasn't like at a club when you came out. Hey, who are you dating? Like,
this wasn't Alec Baldwin shoving some guy's camera into his face, or
on the field. Like, come on, man, just walk
Tigers
around.
Tigers caddy Steve Williams, taking a 9-iron to some Korean woman's head as she snapped off a picture of Tiger coming out of the snacks bar there with an orange. No, I mean, you've seen it, but it's running rampant. I mean, and our good friend Chip Namias on Facebook had a post, and he's right. You had several incidents here where you're looking at the behavior of players and saying, how is there like zero accountability being administered by the team or the coaches? Draymond Green punches Poole. Very valuable member of that Golden State team. I don't know. You could have said that Poole had as much of a role in their winning a championship, or more so than even Draymond Green did last year.
Oh no, he was huge for them.
Yeah. All right. So I don't know. Did he say something? We don't know the details on this one, but I have seen the video. where, Draymond Green comes over to Poole, kind of gets in his face. Poole shoves him back, and then Draymond Green just sucker punches the guy.
Lights
Like
him
it was Geno Smith who had lost a bet, and, Rex sent that maniac in there to go punch him in the face, broke his jaw, and knocked him out of action for a couple of weeks. Rex condoned that, by the way, but he's the first guy to say that these hits, these vicious hits on the quarterbacks. But anyway, nothing. And I like Steve Kerr. Who doesn't like Steve Kerr? Show of hands out there. Is there anybody who doesn't like Steve Kerr? He seems to stand for all of the right things. He gets very emotional when he talks about his father. I mean, all of this stuff. So seems like an admirable guy, but nothing, right? I mean, has he said anything about, listen, nothing. Silence. So I guess it's okay. And I think Draymond Green is back circulating. He was going to take a couple of days away from the Golden State Warriors. I think he's back, like mingling with the team there. He was at like one of the did one of the players' sons have a bar mitzvah or something? I think Draymond Green was seen eating a little knish and drinking a glass of Manischewitz while having his arm around Poole and the rest of the guys. Nothing. And then this was. Did you catch this in the Yankees game where Donaldson hits what appears to be a home run?
I thought it was a home run.
Yeah, last night. All right, so it bounces apparently off the wall. I don't know. Top of the wall, comes back in, and the guy's in his home run trot, and he gets thrown out, going back to first base because he didn't run it out.
Yeah,
and that's been a steady complaint, especially with the Yankees and Aaron Boone all year long. That the announcers ignore this when it comes to, I mean, when it's a visiting team and they make this kind of blunder where guy stands there and poses, and then all of a sudden it's off the wall. And, he ends up getting a single on what should have been just the easiest of doubles and maybe even a threat to be a three-bagger. But because the guy wasn't running, he's lucky to get to first base. In this case, Donaldson had rounded first base, rounded it too far, ball's back in play, and he gets thrown out trying to go back to first base in a playoff game, Lubie. If you're not going to hustle there, when are you going to actually exhibit any of the characteristics that are so fundamental to winning or losing in any sport, where you take nothing for granted and you run everything out?
What do you mean? And look, and I thought it hit the top of the fence, but it didn't. I guess a fan touched it or something. I don't know.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I mean, I thought I saw a replay where a fan touched it. Should have been a homer.
That's what I think they were saying, because I saw it hit the top of the fence, and I'm like, okay, I know I've taken some time from being a huge baseball fan, but I know the rules. Like, if it's a top, it's a home run. I'm like, I don't know. But what my
don't you run until you know it's
my favorite part is to get back to what you're saying. He was complaining on the field, like the ball wasn't in yet. It came off the top.
Yeah.
He's rounding first, screaming, doing the stupid thing that they do, like it should be a home run. They get the ball in. I'm like, oh, he's only going to get a single, and they catch him in a rundown. I'm like, how do they catch him in a rundown? I'm like, oh my God, how are you complaining? It's like when LeBron complains about a foul and then Steph goes and nails a three. It's like, dude, finish the play first before, get the second base before you bitch about that it should be a home run. Like, that was weird.
That was very strange, but not uncommon with the Yankees and Aaron Boone tolerating the fact that he has a lot of guys that have done this consistently throughout the season, where they hit a ground ball to short, and it looks like a routine grounder. They don't run. They don't even leave the batter's box. The guy bobbles a ball. All of a sudden, he's juggling it and then throws him out by a mile anyway because there was no pressure put on the defense. Zero. Because you had already conceded the out. I mean, you should never do that, right? You're only batting 4 or 5 times a game.
Yep.
Correct? And now, how can you possibly justify? I mean, I don't know that everybody's going to be Pete Rose there and run out a walk, but how do you not? And that was, I mean, when I was playing baseball, I always felt like I don't care where I hit the ball. I don't care if it's a pop-up. I'm running I'm standing on second base when the ball is caught. And, it could happen 99 times. And then on the 100th time, when the fat kid in right field finally drops the ball, you're on third. But it's worth it, right? I mean, because you're only asked to do this 4 times a game. How difficult is it to make yourself and say to yourself, hey, no matter where this goes, I don't care if it's a chopper. I don't care if it's, just an absolute smash to the shortstop. I don't care if I went right to the first baseman. I'm running as hard as I can until I'm out. That should be a given, no? I mean, why do they have spring training? What is the point of going over fundamental? Okay, guys, we're going to practice doing this. But when it happens routinely throughout the year, Aaron Boone has shrugged his shoulders, and Chipper is right. He's like, how is there nothing said to this guy for not running? As if assuming that the ball was in play. Nothing. Totally defended by the manager, as was Draymond Green's actions by Steve Kerr. And also Josh McDaniels coming out after the game and saying Devontae Adams is a great guy. I tell you what.
Oh, really?
Nothing.
I hate
Nothing
that.
from the team.
You gotta stand up a little. Like, come on, man. You look. You gotta have your guys back if the things are questionable. But you see him just shove the dude. You got to be like, look, we don't accept that here. We hold ourselves to a higher standard. You know, all the stuff. Like, okay, I don't know. Like, there's a reason some guys make it, some guys don't. To me, if you're not willing to be accountable, then how can you learn from your mistakes and get better? Like that's the first step of growth, is accepting failure and then learning from it. If you can't say this was a bad action, but it won't happen again, then it'll keep happening again.
Adams did apologize.
I get it, but the coach, I'm saying, like, come on, you can't.
But it wasn't like he helped the guy up, and said, hey, wow, I just flipped here. I'm sorry. Because he did have, great reason to be frustrated. Look, the team fell to 1-4, pretty much out of contention. Few 1-4 teams, even in a 17-game season, I would imagine the odds are prohibitive of them making the postseason even at this point. It's not over, but, it's starting to get there. They've been snake bitten all year long. They could just as easily be 5-0, like a lot of teams could say. And he had a play that was spectacular in its nature, but unfortunately ended up being a pass that was caught out of bounds. Where and you've probably seen his clip, Lubie, where they are going to be in field goal range for the game-winning field goal late in the ball game. The Raiders are driving, and Adams makes a terrific catch, but he very briefly bobbled the ball as he was going out of bounds. And it turned out, even though he had expertly and very professionally tapped his toe in when he first got hold of the ball, because he bobbled it, he ended up being out of bounds, and the original ruling of a catch was overturned, rightfully so. But that took them from being in field goal range to going back like 20 yards, and then, unfortunately for the Raiders, things went south from there. So, no, they actually ended up scoring, and then they missed by like an inch of winning the game anyway. So it was a disaster. Now, that was after that, though. After they would have kicked a field goal and won the ball game, and then they ended up not scoring. But he had every. I remember, and he fired his helmet. The guy did kind of jump in front of him. I don't know. What do you think, Lubie? Are we being too harsh on these guys?
I know. I think if it's someone that's on the field, you need to realize. Look, not when they. My favorite. We haven't even talked about this. The guy that ran on the field and then they tackled him, and then the guy who wants to sue or press charges, like, dude, you're on the field. Like,
never mind that he came out there with like a flare coming out of his ass in a foreign stadium.
Like, this isn't that. A guy it was one of the long cameras. You can tell he works with one of the organizations. He's there for that reason. Like, just walk by him. Just walk by him. Like, it's not that hard. Like, you can do it.
Yeah. No, that was that was ugly. And I remember when it happened, I was like looking at this on. I don't even know if they made a comment about it, because they probably the announcers making too much money to even mention it. It was unbelievable. All right, a lot of stuff going on in the sporting world. You have a big week of football on tap as well. More baseball games today, down to 2 games in the divisional playoffs. And which one goes today? Is it the National League? I think
Phillies. I see that the Phillies play today.
Okay, so it's the National League is coming back.
Dodgers, yes, sir.
All right. Are the Phillies capable of doing it again? They actually
they
have Wheeler on the mound tonight, so that's a good thing for them. That's for sure.
I'm confused by the fact that the Phillies have been this successful. I thought they eked themselves a place in the playoffs.
Yeah, surprising, man. And Bryce Harper coming through in the clutch. He seems to be in the middle of anything good that's happening for the Phillies. Are we dead wrong about that too? You can go AFC West. Bryce Harper being more overrated than the Stone Crab, which, wow, not only is the Stone Crab overrated, Lubie, but it's overpriced.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody really out there willing to pay like $80 a pound to eat stone crabs? Are they that good, Lubie?
No, you're talking to the wrong person. You know me.
Yeah.
I like good food, but it depends.
I think that phony crab meat that they make out of carp might be more tasty than the stone crab. We'll argue that with Mayo later on.
I was going to say, don't say that to Mayo.
I'm not sure Mayo's going to make the lunchbox today. He was in fine spirits last night, which was good to see.
I love it.
It is a weird thing that in South Florida, and maybe the word is out there, but I mean, where it takes people forever to catch on to a good thing here. It was years before, even, I mean, what I think is the finest musical venue anywhere in the country, the Funky Biscuit. I mean, that may be a little bit of a stretch, but it's not, in my opinion, because it's intimate and the sound is great.
Oh, they get great, and they get
And the
great.
talent is fantastic.
Yeah, I mean,
Billy Cobham going to be there over the weekend. I don't know if you're familiar with the great Billy Cobham, but he is a factor in my lone musical distinction, Louie. Unless you count winning like the Belmore Battle of the Bands. I don't think we even won. We ran third in the Battle of the Bands there to some other band that had played the same. Everybody played the same song, "Tired of Waiting" by the Kinks. That was like you only knew 2 or 3 songs back then. Guitar players, whatever. I mean, it's not like we were dealing with a future Matt Schofield. But my lone musical distinction of any merit, and I've always been, my whole life has been like this, because on the walk of life, you start thinking about, well, what was my life really all about? I was always able to kind of, brush with greatness while never being in that category myself. So, all right, so I'm jamming with a band, with a guy that was in the music school, because I played the drums at the time. I was okay. I wasn't a great drummer or anything, but I was all right. And I didn't have any technique. I had, naturally developed an entirely, just a style I made up on my own. All right. Now I understood a few things, but I didn't do it. I didn't do everything right, but I was able to play. So that was a good thing. And so this guy liked me. He was actually a very accomplished musician, and he says, "Hey, you know what? Why don't you play with us? I got a gig. I need a drummer on Saturday night at this place. It was, that was naturally called the Jabberwocky, right?" And he said, "We're going to be the opening act for this band that's like getting paid to come in there." I said, "Okay, cool." So I played with these guys. It was fantastic. And I'm walking off the stage, and a guy says to me, no, don't go, man. You're going to dig this next drummer." And the band that we opened for was the world-renowned and much acclaimed jazz guitarist John McLaughlin.
Oh, wow.
And the drummer in the band was Billy Cobham, who was one of the great drummers of all time. I mean, up there with anybody. And I'm thinking, there it is. How about that? A young Deef shared the stage with Billy Cobham.
Nice.
We'll be at the Funky Biscuit tonight. You know who else was in that band? I mean, it was one of their first performances, I think, ever as a unit. There were 2 other guys in that band who were fantastic. One became very famous, Jan Hammer.
Oh, Jesus.
Jan Hammer wrote all of the Miami Vice theme music. And it was like a king of a synthesizer back then. He was really out there. And maybe, and I was telling all these people in Italy for some reason, I must have really been stoned. I was telling, they have a lot of people like where these, churches are and stuff, and these squares that'll play the violin and, have, out there just looking for people to throw them a couple of bucks, which I usually am inclined to do. And for some reason, I was telling them, have you ever heard of this guy, Jerry Goodman? Who was
Middle of Rome.
one of the original, like 50 years ago, he was one of the original rock electric violin players.
Oh, wow.
And he had a band called The Flock originally. That was when I saw him. And then he was in that group too. So there I am. I was on the same stage, Lubie, playing as Jan Hammer, McLaughlin, Billy Cobham, and Jerry Goodman.
Did you?
4 of the most brilliant musicians you'll ever see in your lifetime.
That's cool.
Did I belong up there?
Who cares? No, that doesn't matter.
It was like I fought Arguello or something on the undercard of an Arguello prayer fight. All right. I don't know why I'm telling these stories, but, it's fun anyway. All right, good to be with you. Tony Segreto. I mean, it's old school with Tony Segreto. I guess, I'm going old school. It just shows you just never know what circumstance you're going to be in as long as you assert yourself and get out there a little bit, which was why I was happy to see Mayo out there on the dance floor last night. It's fantastic. Did you know he had moves, Lubie? Of the three of us, you are far and away the best dancer.
I like dance. I actually enjoy dancing. I've been going out dancing since I was 17. So I'm born and raised in South Florida, where like it's sort of a part of your blood. Mayo, I could have seen it. I mean, he's sort of international, He's done some things. He does
I don't know. I mean, it's not like they were, going to, if they had a scout there for Dancing with the Stars, unless they wanted another Master P or Kenny Mayne type of candidate.
God.
I think he was interested in hitting on the girl that was out there on the dance
floor.
Floor.
That's what I'm saying. He's a single dude. He's,
his eyes are bulging a little bit. they're bulging. You know how that goes, where you look like Marty Feldman every time a girl passes by. And why not? Right? What's wrong with it? I mean, I'm always a fan. Your aggression was greatly applauded by many people. I mean, it might have been a little over the top, Lubie. But before you had gotten into your 2 marriages, your aggression with women was wasn't quite Trump-esque, but
we didn't do anything illegal.
No.
I just was active.
But you swung into action immediately.
Yeah, if you're there, they're there. I mean, you might as well.
Still, I mean, the all-time classic. I don't know. You know, I mean, I've had a lot of things, and you remember certain things that women said to you. Both favorably and obviously, in my case, there are many, and all of us have experienced this where, a relationship goes south and all of a sudden all those things that you did that were deemed to be adorable make you, an absolute cretin of the most horrifying nature. Mm-hmm. But the greatest thing I ever heard was when that woman that you were banging in that trailer park that you had picked up at the Ocean Manor Hotel on the beach and, had the car shaking. And we're all wondering what happened to you. And then I guess in the middle of this wild sex that you were having, she says to you, "Oh, is today Tuesday? I'm not sure if today's the day my husband is getting out of prison."
God.
And there's a knock on the door.
There wasn't a knock on the door.
Sweetie.
It didn't go that far.
And you're hammering this guy's wife.
I got out of there before he got
in the trailer park.
The rest of the
story. In Pembroke Pines, or wherever the hell you were, Lubie. I mean,
it was nowhere near the teak. It was like 30 minutes
serious
away.
Balls, but I don't know. Can you think of anything more horrifying? I mean, if the woman had a knife in her hand and was about to put it in your back, it wouldn't have been any worse than telling you that she's not sure if today is the day that her husband gets out of prison. Yeah. Prison, not jail, prison.
It was a little creepy. Stop me. That was creepy.
Babies crying in the other room.
Literally 100% true. It was a fucking weird night.
I mean, a lot of weird you get into
in that time period.
Charles Bronson didn't take as many chances in the 3 versions of Death Wish. Yeah. Unbelievable. All right. We're coming back with more. Hialeah Park, great place to go. And we talk about this all the time. If you're gambling, you want to be in there with a shot. And let's face it, it can be very frustrating. I know that we were on the precipice. Thank you. Did Ron DeSantis fuck this up? I'm surprised Val Demings hasn't brought this up because all gamblers would then immediately vote for her. If she said, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to open up sports wagering here. Ron had that clandestine deal with the Seminoles there where he was handing over bags of cash and, they got like control of everything. And then we lost complete control because some judge came up with the idea that this wasn't so favorable for the public. But it would be great. And Hialeah Park would have been one of the destinations. That would have been absolutely fantastic because they do it right. Mm-hmm. You're in there with a chance to win. It's tough, though. I mean, if you had Seattle on the money line yesterday, wow.
Oh, Jesus.
That's a rough one. But where you really have a shot, though, is on those Royal Reel slot machines that they have at Hialeah Park. Jackpots galore. They have another collage of people that won big jackpots. Like, I'm talking 5 figures plus, sometimes 6 at Hialeah Park just last week. And it's not one of those places that is rigged up, some casinos, once this whole thing expanded and you had, casinos that you weren't sure were actually casinos and you weren't sure what the takeout was because they were unregulated. And they would show somebody who had won $300,000, right? But they didn't show you the other 300,000 people who had walked out of there completely empty because there was no shot to win. The legions of people that were rolling out of the casino. So you don't see that at Hialeah Park. I mean, I see a lot of happy people when I'm there. And it's a very popular game there, especially among the Latin people. For some reason, roulette, which you're thinking of this refined, distinguished James Bond type of movie, 13 Black. Okay, but they love it, man. And you saw how they're screaming there during the horse racing in the champion simulcasting room. It's fantastic to be in a place that has that kind of enthusiasm, that kind of vibe. And then Mayo would have never been able to fetch about the prices at Hialeah Park on the food. Can you imagine? For $5, he could have had the seltzer and a Cuban sandwich and maybe even a small steak. Well, maybe not that, but if Frank Fiore had anything to say about it, believe me, they'd throw him in a steak. They really would. It's just a great place. They treat you right. Always a good vibe. Great place to play your favorite Vegas-style games, poker, punching away on the horses. I'm sort of... Does it look like I have a little rash, Lubie? Can you check here? Because I'm getting the itch to bet the ponies again this weekend. Especially after the great day Mike Mayo, Mayeaux, and I had the other day when we were pounding away, and we both ended up winners. That's a rarity, though, is it not? Where both you and your friend end up.
Oh, yeah, you both won. Yeah, that's impressive.
But it wasn't like we were betting all of the same things. Although I would have to say the key horse in the sequence was picked by Mayo.
Nice.
And he should have been the handicapper in the paper. Never mind Tom Jicken. It should have been Mayo. Pretty good handicapper. But if you love betting the ponies, you're going to love it at Hialeah Park. Champion Simulcasting Room is unparalleled. And believe me, I've visited them all. Yes, I've been there. I mean, every dump of a simulcasting parlor anywhere in the world, I am inclined to go to. All right. I was looking for simulcasting in Italy. I actually was going to venture. I think it was a 30-minute drive to some hippodromo out there where they said they had simulcasting, and yet they had a very different interpretation of what simulcasting and gambling would be. But I love it in Hialeah Park. I really do. It's my favorite
Park
in the country. I wish I could take it with me everywhere, but you can find it easily just by going down to beautiful Hialeah Park or up to it, depending on where you are.
Wherever you're coming from.
All right, we're coming back with Tony Segreto. We'll go old school. That's brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. Ed Garcia should be a very happy man. He's Michigan Wolverines. Are what right there? Are they number 4 in the country? I believe so. Number 4 in the country.
I think they're behind Clemson. Clemson, which to me hasn't.
Clemson's
all.
on top.
There.
Clemson gets a test this week, don't they, Lubie?
I mean, they play us. I get if that's a test. I don't know what to do with Florida. I don't know what. I mean, it's at Florida State at night. And Florida State's was getting a lot of their injured guys back.
Is the lipstick off the pig, Lubie?
I don't know. I don't know what to do with my Noles because that's the thing is, it's not like they're getting blown out in these games. But is it better if they give away games? Like
signs of life. I would say this, that they're showing more signs of life as a program than Mario Cristobal has exhibited. No, that's not a fair comparison for Cristobal because Norvell's had, this is his 3rd season there. The first one was kind of hairy.
Yeah, it was
and
bad.
last year, it wasn't exactly brilliance, but started out very promisingly this year. And see what happens. I don't know. The Hurricanes are a whole other mystery. Maybe Tony... Let's see what Tony has to say about that, huh?
We'll see.
It's very improbable. We're going to really go deep into old school mentality with Tony Segreto. I want to explore like the early 80s with Tony Segreto. No, I do. I was thinking about this in the shower.
I like when he tells stories. He doesn't do it enough for me. I love your guy. When you guys start telling stories, I just listen. It's like
the Hurricanes came from an extremely improbable spot. I mean, they were on the verge of extinction.
Yes.
The university was going to do away with the program. And then Lou Saban, who I believe is the uncle of Nick, Lou Saban did a few things. They had Jim Kelly on the roster. They converted him from a linebacker to a quarterback. And then Howard came in. And, there was optimism, Lubie, but nobody could have ever anticipated what ended up happening.
That's
and it was a great time. I mean, and they did it with guys that weren't the premier players.
Yeah, they couldn't get him.
Right.
They couldn't get premier. They got South Floridians that no one realized were bursting with talent. He created it. He created this market. This is the best region in talent. I know you talk about California and LA. Florida's the best. It just is by NFL numbers.
You think it's a better talent pool? Maybe per population than
that's what I'm
Southern
saying,
California. It's hard for me to imagine that, having been out there. I mean, unless it's just really evolved over the last 50 years. I know people became aware of what Howard was talking about with the, we have to control the state of Miami. Thank you, Howard. I love that, man. I really did.
So. But
what a great guy.
Like, look, Southern California is still great. Texas is great. Florida overall, has more NFL players than anyone, and that's usually what they track it by.
Is that right? Okay.
South Florida is freaking insane. But
two kids going to Ohio State though from one of the
that's our
private
problem.
schools. Yeah.
But they didn't even realize it then because South Florida was just becoming an area in the 70s and the 80s. Howard did, and Howard started it, and
he saw those guys chasing rabbits in Pahokee, and that was it. I want to make sure I position Don Solinger right here in Pahokee. What's this white guy doing in the middle of Pahokee, right? He's recruiting for the University of Miami, who had never been heard from before, probably.
Yep.
Unbelievable. All right, we're coming back with Tony. So we have some, exploring to do with Tony Segreto, Old School, brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse Restaurants. I'm Jeff DeForest. He is Mike Lubie. Lubie, you look good there today, Lubie. I like that shirt. Now, where'd you get this? Is that one of those alligator jobs?
Yeah, I've had it forever. I don't know.
Very nice. All right.
You're supposed to wear darker colors when you're light, is what Andy said a while ago. So I figured.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's funny, too, because there was always, it was taboo to wear like a white shirt, but then it became very common for everybody to wear white shirts on TV. Stripes and checks and things like that on a jacket are not necessarily, good material to have, pardon the pun, as Tony would say, but, not the greatest material to use when going on camera, when the lights are all shaking. But I think a lot of that has improved over the years, too, so it really doesn't matter as much. Coming back with Tony Segreto. We'll go old school with Tony in just a moment. Catholic Health Services, Texas Roadhouse Restaurants on board there. And back in a moment with Tony. Now that.
The time.
It's 8:02. Ponies in Style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in Style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. You know, since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapist, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
What we gonna do right here is go back, way back into time.
We are now kicking it old school with the one and only Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
All right, there he is. Welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. Jeff DeForest, Mike Lubie, and Mr. New York Yankee himself, Mr. Aaron Boone. And
I need
Bucky. Do you have Bucky Dent at the house? I mean, what's going on? Tony Segreto joins us here.
We spoke first thing this morning, actually.
Oh yeah, get out of here. What do you have to say?
Every morning we talk at about 6:45 every morning.
Oh, where does that Alvarez home run rank? Did you see that with Houston to the Bucky Dent?
I have to tell you something, man. The entire playoffs have been amazing.
Great.
Just amazing. The way Houston came back. You know, we were talking about the Alvarez home run, and first of all, you cannot take away the drama. You know, just the sheer drama of it. But in terms of what it meant to the fandom, I think, you know, because Bucky beat the Red Sox, there is probably a little more feeling, like real passion behind it. Listen, make no mistake, those Astros fans were going out of their minds.
Oh, the celebration, and rightfully so, because the tension had built, and there's just an outside chance that, wow, what if this guy knocks one out of the park? Scott Service goes to the bullpen, brings in a starter, which I'm not always a fan of.
Me either.
And, because starters sometimes, look, there's a reason that prop bet about goose eggs in the first inning exists, because a lot of scoring takes place in the first inning of ball games. A starter, if you're going to get to him, that would be the time. And he brings in Robbie Ray, who's been like a home run. It's like he's pitching in the home run derby, the old version there at, what was that, Wrigley Field in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And he's been getting torched, and you're thinking, well, what if this guy hits a home run here, and boom, like that second as I'm thinking it, he just whacks one out of the park,
and he cranked it. that was good. Yeah, really cranked.
Now he stood at home plate, and it was okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was a walk off, and it was fine. There are moments when guys just know it, and they.
But that ball was, going into another county. There
it wasn't even close.
It was high. It was far. It was.
The entire playoffs have been fantastic, and I'll tell you what, if you're an overall sports fan, and I don't mean I love basketball sports fan, but you love all sports. If you don't love this time of year, then you don't have a heartbeat.
It's far and away the best. There's no doubt.
There's no question. You've got the playoffs. You've got college football. You've got the NFL is incredible.
Been great. Very, very.
My daughter. I was talking to her. She's on the subway at 1:00, or she actually had a car service take her home.
Subway?
No.
In New York?
No, she's NBC provides a car on Sunday nights after the Sunday night game. So she's in the car, and she's saying, "Can you believe this? This went down to a kick at the end of the game again." These are just absolutely wild. What's going on?
That was an exciting way to have it come about, though. Whereas the week before, it was like,
And what was interesting is the Today Show actually did a feature on Justin. I always forget his last name.
Oh, Tucker. Yeah, he's an opera singer. Yeah,
he's an opera singer. He speaks 7 languages. It was a fascinating.
Does not miss.
Story.
Is there a guy better at his job
No.
in all of sports history, including Michael and LeBron, better at his job in terms of efficiency than Justin Tucker?
Yeah.
And not only efficient, but, capable of the spectacular. Like, he'll hit a 59-yard field goal to win the game.
Yeah.
And it goes right through.
Yeah. You harkens back to in Vinatieri when he was in his heyday, but I think
he wasn't this consistent, Vinatieri.
No, he surpasses Vinatieri.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, this whole part of the country, this whole part of the year, has been just remarkable in terms of how, whether it's been football, baseball, college or pros, how games have ended, how intense they are. Rarely do you see a team, unless it's us playing against Ohio State or whomever, running away with it. It's just been a great part of great time to be a sports fan, for sure.
Oh, no doubt, man. Last night I was saying earlier, Tony, that I talked Mike Mayo into coming out of his shell and coming out last night, and I happen to know that, and this is one of those things where you're sort of in on something that it's not a secret, but you're amazed that more people aren't. Like, why am I the only, among the few people that are actually going there to see this band? Walk in for free. You got world-class musicians. They're putting on a hell of a show. Yankee games on the TV at this bar. Food's good. Price is reasonable. And then I'm looking going, holy shit, that's a season opener? Mayo pointed out to me that the Rangers was an actual game.
Yeah, it was.
Taking on the Tampa Bay Lightning to open the season at the Garden. My God. What more could you ask for there?
Yeah, and could you imagine New York is filling them both up. The garden's full and Yankee Stadium's full, but it's funny.
Although the Mets, wow! I literally I was joking, but I didn't realize my friend was not feeling well, and I was also as depressed as he's ever been. I call him Mr. Met, Ira Dornstein. Been a Met fan since the inception, diehard Met fan, watches every game and never misses a pitch. And he was at the top, the apex of the Brooklyn Bridge, ready to jump.
Stop.
And I'm playing taps like the asshole wise guy that I am.
Do you have a heart?
I always bust his balls about the Mets. I have a little heart for the Mets.
Do you have a heart?
I didn't know he was this depressed about it. I really didn't.
Do you have a heart for humanity? Do you have a heart for human beings?
I mean, I believe so. I have a sense of humor, so I think it may be sick in some people's minds, but I didn't think it was inappropriate. I mean, they had blown the whole season there by losing those 3 games to the Braves, and that's a tough beat. But
it has nothing to do with being inappropriate. It has everything to do with understanding the moment. There are times when you do it.
Well, he was ready to jump. I mean, that was unfortunately having a moment.
I want to speak up about something right now, and I wanted to address it early, and I wanted to address it especially to my dear friend and young son, Mike Lubie Lubitz. Okay. To hear, I thought the Miami fans. The University of Miami fans were brutal.
Wow, Tony
Segreto. What Florida State fans are doing to Mike Norvell is unconscionable.
What are they doing?
Norvell? What's going on?
I would not know this unless there's a dear friend of mine who lives here in Vermont with me, who graduated Florida State, who follows Florida State. He's on their Facebook page, and apparently the vile.
Oh, the young fans
getting rid of Norvell already. It's been, oh my God, it's absolutely nuts. It's crazy.
A very likable guy. I mean,
a real likable guy.
A good representative for the program. I believe that. I hope he wins.
And they're 4-2 for goodness sake. And they were in the game against NC State, and things happen. The other team is trying to win too. And it's not like they pissed up a rope, pardon my French.
NC State was toe to toe with Clemson, earlier.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like a week before.
And we'll see what kind of week they have against Clemson. But man, we've got to calm down. We are getting to a point, and especially in college football, where we're seeing schools just fire coaches left and right and eating $25-30 million contracts because the grass is greener on the other side. Well, guess what, folks? It doesn't work that way. It doesn't. Sorry. You need time. I heard you going on about, what's going on with Miami and Cristobal. And I was with Dan Radakovich the other day. We sat for an hour and a half. And
how'd that thing go with the president, by the way?
Phenomenal. What a phenomenal.
I met a guy, Tony. I thought of you. I know you're very tight with the Nova Southeastern. You have your charity event there, and you've generated a lot. So the guy with the white hair, the president of the university, what's that guy's name?
George Hanbury.
He has like a strange accent, though, doesn't he? It's like a Southern thing. He was at, I believe you'll find this surprising, but I was at like some fancy schmancy fundraiser, and it was to benefit what obviously is a very, very successful and significant cancer research program that they have going at Nova Southeastern. So the press came out there to say thanks to the very ritzy clientele that happened to be on hand for this luncheon, and I'm listening and going, that guy sounds a little, unusual. Yeah. And I was thinking, Tony must know this cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's his story? I don't want to deviate too far from your UM thing, but
he went to Virginia Tech, I believe.
Boy, did he look like a guy who could raise funds, though?
Yeah,
he smelled of money. This cat.
He's kind of a Thomas Jefferson type guy. That kind of country.
He looked like Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah,
he did.
Yeah. And he sort of plays the role. So he's a good man, a good president for Nova, and
interesting.
Interesting.
I just love it that you rub elbows with these kinds of guys because, I'm sitting there thinking, geez, I got to get out of this stupid suit jacket and make my way to the track.
Yeah. But I tell you what, man, the president of the University of Miami is a special man, special guy.
Okay, good.
Special,
all right.
Special guy.
What's he think about Cristobal? Is he ready to fire the guy or what's going on with this?
No, nobody is. But I was going to tell you, I think Cristobal, Mario said it best the other day. He goes, listen, I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I said coming in, we had a lot of work to do. And I understand the enthusiasm. He goes, and there's no moral victories here. We lost. He goes, but did I like our intensity? Yes. Did we give up? No. Did we continue to fight? Yes. Those are things we weren't doing in the past. And so you look for those little moments. They're not moral victories, but they're improvement. He goes, listen, it's going to get like this. When Norvell came into pardon me, Florida State. You guys had a couple of years where it was everybody wanted his head.
Yes.
And it was awful. And then all of a sudden, things are turning around. Is it perfect? No, it doesn't happen with the flip of a switch. And I just think everybody's just got to calm down and back off. They all want. Listen. Let's bring in the Florida State Facebook page was all over about bringing Deion Sanders in.
Oh, they're so stupid.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? Like,
weird.
I don't know. Can he coach? I'm not sure.
I don't. My problem is he's focused as much about himself on TV doing commercials, because literally the thing he got in a rift about with the Alabama State, the thing he was doing was disrespectful and douchey. Pardon my French. He was going through the other team was set up to do their intros, and I guess he has this routine where he goes through the other team's intros. Are you kidding me? I'm sorry, he's a null, but that was spitting in their face, and he didn't understand that the coach was pissed at the end and didn't shake his hand. Are you kidding me? What you would have got from me? I'm sorry. That's not a guy who's ready for the big stage to be a Power 5 head coach. So these people that want Deion, they're dumb. Like they don't get it.
That's the way America is today, though. I mean,
stupid.
if you have some celebrity status, all of a sudden you're qualified to run the country. It's crazy.
I don't want to name it.
He was always kind of a lightning rod, divisive figure. People loved him or hated him. More people seem to, root for him to fall on his face than, to have success. But no, I mean, with Cristobal, I wanted to run this by you, Tony, on the Cristobal thing. Okay. Because the game is different now. And we were talking about this earlier this week, trying to analyze what the hell is going on, at what level is this program at, where should it be at. And, my theory is it's just never going to be like it was. I mean, we were talking about 1982. Nobody knew what was going to transpire over the next 20 years. I mean, it was impossible to anticipate that. In fact, it was impossible to conceive that they were going to win the national championship there after that 83 season, right? Who would have figured that? They're fifth in the country going into the final day. Yeah, and then Nebraska, Dr. Tom decides to go for 2. And I don't know if you were in the booth at the time, but there's
I was in the booth.
Hear him screaming, deflected away.
Kenny Calhoun.
Yeah.
Kenny I was in the booth with him.
It's a fingertip on the ball, or Nebraska comes back, pulls a miracle comeback. Yeah.
It was his pinky. It was a moment. It was a moment. It was, forever etched in time. And will any... You know what? I'm not so sure you can't get back to 82 or 83. I just think
that was so electrifying, Tony. It's hard to picture. It really
is. It was the Camelot version of football for South Florida. It was like, it was that moment that
came out of nowhere too.
Yeah. Will be forever frozen in time. And here's the thing, and this is, again, no disrespect at all, because we're celebrating the 50th year of the 72 team, which is still a remarkable feat. And,
talking about the Dolphins, right?
Yeah. As we continue to move forward, I'm not so sure it'll ever be matched. I'm just not so sure.
And that's okay.
But that's more than fine. But beyond that, what made the Miami National Championship so magical was that it happened here. It happened in South Florida.
Right on, Orange Bowl
and it happened. I tell people this all the time. I have never done a championship game of any sort where the home fans, if the home team won, literally did not want to leave.
It was this man.
It was that man. And not only did they not want to leave, when they finally did leave, okay, they all came to the Omni Hotel where the team was staying. I was in Howard's suite with Sonny Hirsch. It was Howard and I, Sonny.
Was Sonny at the buffet, or where was he? He usually would eat first. Yeah.
Yeah. And Beverly. Yeah. And we all waited,
Beverly.
much like the Broadway stars on opening night go to Sardi's and wait for the New York Post to come out with their critics, evaluation of their opening night play. And when it was announced that Miami had been named national championship, downtown Miami became absolutely insane. It was like the Orange Bowl just moved to downtown Miami. Yeah. Those are moments you can't get back. Those are moments you can't create. They have to happen spontaneously, and they have to happen because not only are they fans, but there's a love affair. that goes on with the team and with the program. There was a passion that was unmatched at that point.
I think Howard orchestrated a lot of that, man. He was just the
He
ultimate.
did. He
You know,
did.
your man Ron Frazier was great at this. Was not quite as much in the spotlight, but it was sort of here in town.
The game was different.
Promotion, and Howard was one of those guys. I was talking about my time where Dusty Baker, and I had an interview in my very early stages as a sports writer out in California, and I'll never forget that he just said to me, "Okay, well, why don't we sit down in the dugout so we can do this right?"
Yeah.
And I was thinking, geez, I don't even think the guy was going to talk to me. So, and I'll never forget that. And I'll never forget, first meeting Howard, when he was promoting the program. And I was a young guy just here in town, got a job on the radio. And I went down to the first press conference I was attending, and he had it in that little conference room. And he literally went around and talked to everybody after he'd already talked to everybody, and it was great.
What he learned from Bear Bryant, and he told me this, he learned to be a student of people. He judged people, and he knew how important it was to engage with everybody, because at some point running that program, everybody's going to be important to him. And it was important that he go around and make you feel like you were the most important person he was dealing with.
He was great. I'll tell you what, I mean, this guy has the same impact
yeah,
on
he
people.
Does. Yeah, he does.
And you can see why this organization is so successful. Oh, there he is, too.
There's my man, Ed Garcia.
Ed Garcia.
Good morning.
Mr. Nishi. Hey, you're finally playing somebody other than me and,
stop, Tony.
Lubie and Defo.
I'm wearing my Dolphin colors today.
I see that, but you're playing like a legitimate college football team.
I know. I'm excited. Probably one of the few teams that has gone undefeated and then dropped down in the rankings. Alabama was very close with that loss, here in the beginning of the season, and they still stayed number one. So I'm very confused. So I'm seeking to you, Tony, for some wisdom.
Yeah, well, I'm going to try to give it to you, but it's sometimes you don't know how these pollsters want to vote. But first of all, I forgot, is the game in Happy Valley or is it in Ann Arbor?
It's in Ann Arbor.
It is Ann Arbor. Well, it's going to be. This is going to be. Are you going? You don't tell me you sold. Don't tell me you sold your tickets again. Oh,
I have a wedding.
No, they made a wedding.
Can they not put that on hold just for a day?
The guy getting married today is a bulldog, so he doesn't care.
If it was Ohio State, would you blow off the wedding?
Oh yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So one more thing, and then we'll talk about Texas Roadhouse. What time is the wedding as compared to what time the game is?
Yeah,
are you going to be
who's
able
catering?
to? Yeah, and who? And are you? Can you listen to the game? Can you watch the game? Can you go to church with a piece in your ear to listen to it?
Exactly.
I will have my iPad and AirPods ready to rock and roll. So don't worry. I'm not missing a second of that game.
Is Texas Road, as when I finish Defo's question, is Texas Roadhouse catering the wedding?
No, they are not. But I'm sure we wanted Texas Roadhouse.
All right. So how good could this friend possibly be?
He's a great friend. He's actually one of our big attorneys for Texas Roadhouse. So he takes really good care of us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, I did, and people think we make these things up and we don't. I got a call from a friend of mine who was in South Florida last weekend and went and took the advice that we keep giving people to go to Texas Roadhouse for a Saturday afternoon of football. And he went by himself and told his wife he'd call her and that she was going to meet him there for a bite. And he went there from 1:00. They were there through the evening game and said they had an absolute blast. Absolute blast. Because by the time his wife got there and they sat down and ate, and you watch a game, you start talking with people. Next thing you know, time has gone by, but could not have had a better time. He said it was amazing how many people were there, how many different fans were there, how many people engaged with different teams. What's the score of your team? What's the score? He said it was just a great atmosphere. So I think it's testimony to what you guys do, especially this time of year with baseball and football and everything going on.
Absolutely. I mean, we have some of the greatest bartenders, and as you know, we serve the coldest beer in town.
Yeah, we do.
Have some really cool things to just keep it that extra cold. But we have that fresh baked bread, the fresh made cinnamon butter, honey cinnamon butter. I mean, What restaurants today, do they make 4 different butters in-house for you to enjoy?
No.
I mean, that's something unheard of. It takes time, but that passion just goes to show, hey, that food is fantastic. And then the energy and the atmosphere that, it can be turned up a little bit and you can have a good time and enjoy your game is really, really, really cool.
During this time of year, is there a number one seller in terms of your menu?
Overall, our number one seller has always been the 6-ounce sirloin. That is a steak that many people grew up on. That's what Mom used to make. And, the number one comment is, how do we get it so tender? Why is it so good? And, I'll tell you, it's the in-house butcher that we have makes all the difference. They cut, we just broke, I have 11 restaurants up and down the coast of Florida. And just last week, so far this year, our meat cutters cut over 1 million pounds of beef. 1 million pounds of beef. They sit there in that room, which I know you got the sneak peek of that room, which is, 34 degrees.
Yeah, they are bundled up.
Yeah, they are bundled
Nobody's asking
up.
where is the beef at Texas Roadhouse.
And they hand cut that, and it's an art, an absolute art. Really, really, really cool. And, that's what makes it tender, by just cutting it just right. And they cut, hundreds of those steaks a day. So that's our number one seller. My favorite, if I'm looking for something really flavorful, I go with that bone-in ribeye, which I know I sent you some of those in Vermont. Fantastic.
Yeah. Wow. Fantastic.
And if I'm looking for that hearty meat steak, the New York strip, you can't go wrong. That is one of my favorites.
And how is it that you make the ribs so unbelievable where they literally do fall off the bone? How do you do that?
It really is. It boils down to a 3-day cooking process. And we, basically we season them and let that seasoning, that is part of the process, kind of soak in all the way down into the bone. And then we slow cook them overnight, kind of in a boiler, to just really kind of tenderize that meat. And then we finish it off on the grill, give it some diamonds. And then we put that, little sweet barbecue sauce to kind of counteract some of that seasoning on there. So you get that wet and dry rub action right on those ribs. And that's why they fall off the bone.
Tell you what, man, that's special. You have to have I need the recipe for that honey cinnamon butter. I've tried to make it at home. and I wind up.
Why bother, Tony?
Well, sometimes you don't have access to it. And I go, okay, so sometimes I wind up with too much honey, too much cinnamon, too much butter. I never quite get it right. It's like making the cream cheese that you get at the good deli, the walnut cream cheese. It just doesn't. So I need to. Do you give up recipes?
Well, there are some knockoffs on Pinterest. I'm not a Pinterest person, but my wife is an expert for sure. But I'll tell you, I'll give you the secret. This is what my family does. They go in and they buy a big thing of honey cinnamon butter, and they take it home and they put it in the freezer. And then every couple of days, they cut off a little cube and they let that soften. And that's their breakfast every morning.
Then why haven't I see in Italian there's a word called stunad, and I'm stunad. You can understand what that means, and I don't have to understand Italian.
This part gives it away.
Yeah, exactly. Ed, thank you so much.
Yeah,
we love you.
And I see you're in town, so I deliberately lost a bet to Tony, so we could go and have a meal at Texas Roadhouse.
In the next couple of weeks, Tony's going to be back in town.
I'll be back in town.
So we have to do that. Okay, sounds good.
Cheers.
Ed, always a pleasure. And good luck this week, Penn State.
Yeah,
I root against Penn State in every ball game. With apologies to OJ McDuffie. I love OJ.
Love juice,
but I root against Penn State. They were a rival of the Cuse. I don't know that I cared so much about that because when I went to Syracuse, the football team had just gone into decline. Ben Schwartzwalder was a senile old man who didn't realize that the forward pass had been legalized 20 years prior. Number 44 was a guy named Rich Panzician after it had been like, Zonka and Floyd Little and Jim Brown. It was going south, man. But Penn State would come to town. I hated their uniforms. I hated everything about them. And then, I loved Papa Joe, but I wrestle with that.
The latter years. Didn't help him out.
I thought he was a very endearing character, much like Lou Carnesecca in New York with St. John's, and that type of guy that Pete Carrillo. You just love the guy, old school. But wow, I mean, very hard to justify condoning this whole thing that went on with Sandusky. I mean,
it's not hard to. You just can't.
I mean, it's easy.
But I have to.
Where does that leave you with Paterno? I mean, do you leave with a sour feeling about this guy? Because he was just such a lovable character.
Regrettably, I do. I look at the program,
the glasses, the whole thing. I mean, he was a cartoon-like character. Yeah.
What's troubling to me is that you could buy into what you just said about the man and not know what goes on behind closed doors. I mean, it's
hard to. I mean, such a departure from everything. I mean, we're seeing that throughout. Life with a lot of prominent people. Unfortunately, you're looking and going, no, what kind of bullshit? How do you not see through this? But it was impossible to see that in Paterno at one point in time. I remember, meeting him. I met him a few times, but I was calling a basketball game there between UM and Penn State, and they had it in the on-campus, gym, which was a small little intimate gym, and Papa Joe was in the crowd, and it was like the greatest thrill. I was like, wow, look at that. I mean, I'm looking across, I'm calling basketball, and there's Papa Joe. And when he came out on the court after Penn State eked out some kind of victory, I was delighted that I was in this guy's company. And then years later, you're like, mind-boggling, I mean, negativity. So
it questions your ability of judging people.
Well, but everybody loved him, though. I mean, that was unreal. All right, more with Tony Segreto, and always great having Ed Garcia on the program there.
How wonderful!
You're giving him a lot of crap though about Michigan's.
Well, they haven't played anyone. It's a freaking joke. No, he's not wrong. They haven't played anyone. So
favored by 7 this week.
They haven't. They have not played a soul. It's a joke. It's
a joke. No, it really is.
What did they play? Did they play Indiana last week? How's Indiana?
Look, the Big Ten turned out to be bad, and I get that. But Indiana, Iowa, these are teams in the past have had success.
They were schmenky teams before.
Listen, Iowa couldn't score against us.
Us being you being Lubie or us?
No, between you, me, and Lubie. We'd be out there, the three of us against Iowa.
Trust me, Tony.
And they would not score. They would not score.
At one time, maybe I would have run out there, but not any longer. All right, we're coming back with more with Tony Segreto. Many things to get to here with Tony, and just as he said, a glorious time in the world of sport. Jeff DeForest, we got Mike Lubie. It's the great one, Tony Segreto. Back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
8:33.
Folks, Tony Segreto here. Let me ask you a question. What do you look for when you go out to eat? Good food, obviously, friendly atmosphere, not too loud, but good energy, reasonable prices, and a place where you feel comfortable. All those ingredients, no pun meant there, are hard to find unless you're talking about the Texas Roadhouse. You see, they encompass all of those attributes. Really, really good food, amazing atmosphere, good for a family, good for a date, or just a night out for yourself, and prices that will make you extremely happy. Their ribs unmatched, steaks hand-cut every day. Everything, and I mean everything, is made on site, including their incredible bread. It's the one day, folks, that you can forget about low-carb diets. Trust me when I tell you, Texas Roadhouse, your restaurant, your destination when you say, where should we go and eat tonight?
From the newly renovated sports bar to the beautiful bayside views captured at the Tiki Bar, Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill has it all. Located at mile marker 104, the Big Chill also offers waterfront dining while experiencing breathtaking sunset views of the Florida Keys. It's simply the hottest spot in the Keys to cool off. That's Jimmy Johnson's Big Chill at mile marker 104 in Key Largo. For more information, call today at 305-453-9066.
Why is it necessary? I mean, it's cliche at this point to put the guy out there on the edge of the pier. And be reporting.
I couldn't agree with you more.
You're so not wrong. I remember so many times Bo Camper himself, because he's a big dude, holding onto a tree and like, I'm out here. Yeah. And it's like, Jesus, Kim.
We would.
Did you ever get assigned to that? I mean, you never had this stupid that, did you?
He said
well, the only. First of all, let me tell you something. When Weaver was punching away, part of those punches were mine because
he was sending cash out to the dog track in between news shifts and he was on the affairs of the world. Nice, Tony.
He was he would come into my office and he goes, "Hey, Kythe is running tonight." Kythe was a great dog, and I go, "Really?" I said, "What are the odds?" He said, "Well, we got to put some dough on it." So I gave him some money for Kythe, and I saw some. I look at the odds, and my parents were going, and he'd hook up with my parents, and they'd be betting on the dogs. It was absolutely great.
Defo and Lubie always have a blast kicking it old school with the iconic Tony Segreto. Brought to you by Catholic Health Services and Texas Roadhouse.
Iconic is certainly appropriate when it comes to mentioning the name of Tony Segreto because you, my friend, and I was talking about my lone musical distinction earlier in the program, where I somehow ended up on the same stage as John McLaughlin and the Mahavishnu Orchestra in one of their initial concerts, which featured Jan Hammer, of course, familiar to Miami people here for his music and all the theme music for Miami Vice, among many other musical accomplishments. So it was like, what was I doing there? But I mean, you deserve all of the iconic stature that we ascribe to you because you had a greyhound named after you.
Yes, I did.
Did that dog ever? I mean, did he bury you, or I mean, and what was the story behind that? There was a dog that campaigned when they had dog racing here named Segreto.
Yeah, there was a. I was at the track, and this gentleman came up to me and watched me every night. And he was from Jersey. He was a dog breeder. He had dogs at Biscayne and at Flagler, and at all the tracks. And he said, "Listen, you know, we know you're a Jersey guy, and we love watching you. We love following you. How would you feel about us naming a dog after you?" And I said, "That would be fun. That'd be awesome."
I mean,
that was the
why not
genesis of it.
Secretariat? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So they named the dog Tony Segreto, and it was fun. Great. It was so much fun. It was. I'll tell you what. Did
the dog ever win? I mean, it must have won at some point.
Yeah, he won a couple of times.
He wasn't good.
He was middle of the road. Dog.
C grade.
You know, if exactly, C grade.
You see yourself, the great Tony Segreto, in a C grade dog race, as a testimonial to your greatness.
Unless people,
we consider it an honor, though, Tony. Believe me.
No, listen. Unless people bring some of this stuff up, I don't even think about it anymore, But when you do, you sort of shake your head and go, "Wow, I can't even."
There was a sense of unity and community.
Yeah,
in fact, there was a dog racing named Segreto.
Yeah, there was something really funny about it. So
yeah, it was great.
It was a great time. It was a great time for South Florida because really that's when everything was hopping.
That was our culture too. We had the dogs and we had Highline. These were unique to us.
And Hialeah was in its heyday.
Hialeah, beautiful.
Gosh, I remember going to Hialeah with my wife. We would get dressed up and go to the turf room, and it was it was magical. It was just absolutely magical. Oh, you changed my background.
Well, I put a little Hialeah there up there for a second there, and then we kind of messed it up. Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's still as beautiful as ever. It really is. I mean, they do a dynamite job over there. It was great. Did you like to sit outside? There was a bar outside there. And I used to like to sit on the ledge to the stairway after getting a drink at that bar. And it was behind a scoreboard by one of the parking lots where the administrative offices were.
It's right down the way from here.
It was just opposite to them. And wow, I mean, the scenery literally was phenomenal back then.
Yeah, it was breathtaking. What was really
I'm talking about the ladies too. I mean, I'm sure you noticed. Hot babes everywhere.
What was good for me, what was really cool for me is that I had two of my high school teammates heavily involved. So Ray Garcia, who was in charge of parking everybody's car.
Oh yeah, Ray's great.
Ray and I played high school football together, and
got the mustache. Great mustache.
And then Dennis Testa, the Testa family, he and I were baseball players together, and his family obviously are the ones that kept the grounds like they were. In fact, when we were in high school, Dennis lived in that little house right on
amazing, like a flamingo.
And and Dennis and I still talk to this day, and
he's great. Always
great. He really is a great guy. So it was a wonderful time, and it's funny. If you can really sit down and slow your life down for a minute and reflect on your parents telling you stories of their magical times during their days, whenever that was in the 20s and 30s and 40s, even though it was depression, there was you heard the stories of just love and camaraderie in the neighborhoods and what they got to do, and you thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And now we have become those people, and we talk about this for a young guy like Lubie. These are memories that are not meant to be compare what's going on today, but memories of great times when you shared an iconic moments. I mean, it was when Miami Vice came into vogue, and Don Johnson and all of that, and the Hurricanes were great, and the Dolphins were great, and Shula and Marino. You had that buck swashing the quarterback and Dan Marino, good looking, walked into a room, lit the room up, and then when he played on Sundays, lit the field up.
But you had faith, though, you could ride on Marino's shoulders to victory in any game.
Oh, there was never,
even when they were getting beaten badly.
There was never a question about that.
I'm not sure that Tua has that.
No, not yet. No,
and very few quarterbacks do. I mean,
Josh Allen does.
You could feel it, though. You could ride this man's
Mahomes.
shoulders.
Yeah.
I mean, Marino sustained it over such a long period of time with that feeling. Yeah.
But Josh
Allen is showing signs of being that, but
and I think Mahomes shows it now. I think Rodgers. I feel bad for Rodgers. I think it's sort of.
But he's had a beautiful career. I mean, in
he
terms
has
of accomplishment.
He's had a great career. But it's fun to see.
And it's acknowledged for being great.
It's fun to see these young guys, and I have to tell you this. I'm sort of over this whole Tom Brady thing. Like, I'm just over it. I'm just over it all.
More so than Giselle, or I mean, what's that?
I'm just over it. I'm just like, I everybody is comparing it, and I get it, but you know what? We got to give these other guys their own moment. The Rodgers, these guys that have played such a long time that have great careers, and the young guys coming up. These young guys coming up are saving the league right now. Whether it's Zach Wilson or Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes, I mean, it doesn't matter. Lamar, all these guys, they're saving the league, and they're making the league exciting again. And I think that's wonderful to see.
No, it's very entertaining. I mean, as you said earlier, the NFL has been extremely entertaining for the most part, except I guess the Sunday night games and Thursday night games, and they have what is a potential real clunker coming up tomorrow night with the Bears, who nobody wants to see, and the Commanders, who, I mean, it was interesting because we are big fans of Ron Rivera. He's one of these guys that you would embrace, Tony. I mean, just seems like pure good. Overcame a lot. I mean, had cancer, and he handled everything just like a real mensch of a human being. And, he's one of those guys on Radio Row that comes around. Now, rarely do you have a head coach, a current active head coach in the NFL come around with, like, no publicists or, no kind of crew with him from the team, walking him around, saying, okay, coach. He just goes by himself, man.
Yeah.
He's great. He sits down, talks to you man to man, eyeball to eyeball. And, while there's some coach speak cliche stuff in there, you get the feeling that he's a very sincere individual.
Agreed.
And he calls out Carson Wentz. They ask him at a press conference, you'll never see this, right? Where they say, hey, what's the problem with the team? And he goes, the quarterback. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I listen. And you know what? I listen.
That means they're bad. I mean, think about that. What coach ever does that? None. And this is one of the nicest guys you'll ever meet.
I will tell you this. You're talking about Thursday and Sunday night, and talking to Sam. Their Sunday night ratings have been through the roof. They have had great turnout with viewers, and their games have been fantastic.
Yeah.
Really,
KC Raider game was an excellent ball game.
Oh my God, it was a great game, and I think Thursday's struggling a little bit. I know Monday still Monday.
Well, they keep showing the Broncos on Thursday night, which is a horror show.
Yeah, Monday's struggling still, even with Buck and with Aikman. It's
they weren't going to add any viewers. I think we
we did acknowledge that.
It's no different than the broadcast they had in any other year, except you don't have the Booger Mobile, and you don't have Jason Witten.
You know what? Hey, I'll tell you what. You know who I think is doing a really nice job? I listened to him the first time the other day. Is Greg Olson.
I told you for that.
A lot of people
I think Greg Olson's doing it.
He's a good guy too. I mean,
he's a great guy, and he's just refreshing. He's just different. Yep. He's honest, man.
Yeah.
He's on, and he tells you different, insightful things. I mean, I think he's been wonderful.
Yeah, he's been impressive. A lot of people like him very much. It's funny too because I don't think this play-by-play guy is any different than Joe Buck in terms of
Burkhardt's fine. He's
the way he calls a game, and yet everybody's like, oh well, geez, they don't have Joe Buck there anymore. But and it's probably taken away from Olson. getting recognition as being.
Joe does a really,
analyst.
Joe's just, he's like his dad, man. They're just steady. They just do their.
It's not that complicated, though, Tony. That's the thing. I mean,
it's not.
It's not a job that requires like a $90 million skill.
No, it doesn't.
Payday.
Hey, I will tell you that. You know who else I'm enjoying, by the way, is oh my gosh, our quarterback he played for like 12 different teams.
Trent Green?
No. Our guy who went to Harvard or Yale.
Fitzpatrick. Yeah,
Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, he's good.
He's fun. He's just fun. He's just funny. He's got that beard going. That whole.
But he has insight into all situations.
That whole group of people in
the Amazon.
Yeah, the Amazon game. He's the only one that's. I mean, Tony
Gonzalez looks great.
He never says anything.
He looks great.
Doesn't he remind you of Rick Fox? I mean, it was the same thing.
But yeah,
Rick Fox, Tony Gonzalez.
He doesn't say a thing. Never says a thing.
A lot of cliches.
Sherman is funny. I love Sherman.
He's all right. Yeah.
And
had another guy on there. I couldn't figure out who he was.
I don't know who that is. Yeah, I don't know who that is.
He looked like he came from another genre, not like football.
Yeah.
Like he was an MMA fighter they were trying to promote for the next premier boxing champions or whatever.
But they've just been, and so I love Greg Olson. I think Herb Street's done a beautiful job.
Yeah, Herb Street's okay.
He's really he's done a great job.
None of them will ever be Al DeRogatis, though, man. I mean, it's unfortunate. And one of a kind there.
Yeah.
Where the guy would just absolutely, go transcendental and call a play 3 plays down the line that was going to happen.
Yeah.
And be absolutely, spot on. I mean, just, including the fact that Namath was going to take advantage of the fact that the wind was blowing 60 miles an hour in his face, underthrow Don Maynard, and he was going to slip around, Fred Williamson and go in for a touchdown. And then it would happen just like that. It was a beautiful thing. Yeah. All right, Old School with Tony Segreto here, and we're brought to you by a great company as well, Texas Roadhouse, brilliant. And did you see the consensus? Seems to be the bone-in ribeye is the steak to order, the steak of choice of our audience.
I love, and I tell you, I just heard from Ed. I just sent Ed a text, and I told him how great he was today. And Ed said he loves coming on with us, and he added, "I love reading the comments."
The comments are great.
Yeah. Those comments mean a lot to him, and they mean a lot to us because it tells us that we're doing the right thing and we're with the right people. And it's not just Texas Roadhouse. We're also with an amazing company called Catholic Health Services.
Yes,
we talk about this.
Only class with you, Tony. That's what I love about being associated with you. It's a real departure for Lubie and me. But we're lucky to be representing some very classy places and people, as well. But you, I mean, honestly, it's in mensch categories that are unparalleled.
I thank you for that. But, I've been very blessed with Catholic Health Services. They've been with us from day one, as has Texas Roadhouse. And, we met them and we got a chance, like Texas Roadhouse. We got a chance to tour what they do and meet the doctors and meet the administrators and meet the people in charge of all the different rehab facilities. And when you meet them, I remember coming home to tell my wife, and I said to Roseanne, I said, "Man, these people are different. It's just a different breed of people. Their love for what they do, their passion for what they do, their expertise and their acumen for what they do is unmatched." I said, and I haven't even gotten into the deep, the deep information into what they do. I'm just telling about first glance when you meet them and shake their hands. And then later when I started learning more about them and what they do and see how they're involved in the community. They're at every major event with a tent talking about education. And I think I want to kind of hone in on this today. It's not just being reactive because I have a bad hip and I had surgery or I had a stroke and I need rehab. It's not about being reactive. Catholic Health Services is all about being proactive too, and they're ingrained in this community. They're a fabric that runs through the community. Whether you're Dade, Broward, or Palm Beach County, they're going to all these different public events with a tent, trying to educate us on blood pressure, cholesterol. Do we get a shot? Do we not get a shot? Do we match a COVID shot, the next booster, with a flu shot? What do I do if I need this? How do I eat now that I'm older? How do I eat if I'm younger? How much exercise do I need? Do I really need 10,000 steps or 5,000 steps enough for me? How active do I have to be? So all of these things are important to keep us healthy because God forbid we do need some of these things for whether it's, again, God forbid, a stroke, a hip, whatever it is. The better shape we're in going in, the better shape we're going to get out of this a lot better and be out of it quicker. So Catholic Health Services is all about making sure we stay healthy. So God forbid, when we do have an issue, we're going to be able to get better quicker than we could have ever imagined because of their help, their expertise, their love, and their passion. Catholic Health Services, trust me when I tell you, special place with special people.
My brother, who is, he inherited my father's intellect and scored like a perfect score on his SATs, made, a lot of different scores in business, very successful while operating entirely on his own, and very discriminating when it comes to this sort of thing, and very critical. And he said, without qualification, this is the most professional organization that I've ever dealt with in Florida, period. But without, any qualification on that. And that, I'm telling you, is not easy praise to come by from this man. So that said it all to me. And I experienced that too. Tony, it was night and day. Yeah. From the minute Catholic Health Services got involved in my mother's situation. And they did a tremendous job. And I mean, it really, it actually, you start, tearing up because you're thinking she was going through tyranny before that, and what hell these people were putting my mother through, and you can't do anything about it because you can't talk to anybody. It's just such a difference, people. Tony, I know people think he's a little pie in the sky-ish, but he's absolutely on the money. He saw some good in this last loss by the Canes. No, I mean he's great, but this is in all sincerity one dynamite company, Catholic Health Services. Do yourself a favor, avoid the anxiety.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, we're coming back with more. We'll wrap things up. A lot to talk about. Interesting, man, that I would be still hung up on the distinction that you had of having a dog named after you, a greyhound, that actually raced. People thought there was a horse called Defo Street that campaigned. I don't know if he's still running, but, it was fairly recently. There was a horse called Defo Street, but was a fairly successful racehorse, and everybody thought it was named for me. But I had no idea. I mean, it even existed until one day I'm sitting there going, look at this. I should probably bet this horse, Defo Street. And, of course, he ran dead last. Which shows you not every hunch is a good one.
Exactly. No.
Coming back with more in a moment. Now that.
The time.
Here comes Segreto. It's 8:52. Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.
Hey folks, Tony Segreto here. Since day one, Catholic Health Services has been part of Old School. And since we've started letting people know about them, it's changed their lives. You see, Catholic Health Services, while being recognized as one of the top places for stroke rehab in the country, it's also about a group of people who not just excel in what they do, from the doctors to the nurses to the therapists, on and on and on. It's how they do what they do every single day that separates them from the pack. They do it with a passion, unmatched, and the inclusion of family in every step of the process. Trust me when I tell you this. If you want the best, unmatched rehab with a special group of skilled, caring people, there is truly only one place, and that one place is Catholic Health Services.
These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Why is it necessary? I mean, it's cliche at this point to put the guy out there on the edge of the pier and be reporting.
I couldn't agree with you more.
You're so not wrong.
You can't fake caring. Women can sense this immediately. You don't really care. You didn't really want to do any of this.
We now return to the Defo Show.
All right, welcome back to the show, the Defo Show. Mike Lubit's looking sharp today there. Does it not look like he, is in the office of an FBI investigator?
Yeah, what is it? We have a new background. We have a
Lacoste. My wife's office. It's not new. In the next month, we'll have a new background. Right now,
we have a Lacoste. We have a Lacoste shirt on.
Looking good.
My wife's office.
You kind of got this Lululemon thing going on, or
he looks like a private investigator. It looks like an office like Nick Nolte might have in a movie when he's like a low-level private investigator.
No, for him to really look like a private investigator, he needs a donut in his hand.
All right, Tony's with us. We have a few minutes left with Tony, so we have a few things to get into, including, man, I was dying, Tony. I mean, you would appreciate this because nobody wants to see Nick Saban lose more than I do, even if it's at the expense of Jimbo Fisher, another coach I'm not a big fan of.
Yeah,
Agreed.
But they get there. I mean, they're right on the precipice of this, and it looks like Nick is going down possibly for the second time this year. He dodges a bullet against Texas, and now Texas A&M has him by the jugular. And they have a fourth down, and a guy throws some kind of stupid pass out to the corner that apparently was tipped off by a lip reader, and that's it. They lose, and Nick survives and still has the almost go in the loss.
And he's still being an absolute jerk to reporters. He's still just
he's an asshole. Yeah, plain and simple.
Just be a human being, for goodness sake. How difficult is that? But listen, I have to tell you. So last week I just bet two games that I felt pretty high.
Oh yeah, nice.
Yeah,
Tony.
and so
sounds like you hit them both too.
No, I split them. I split them. I had Utah because I really thought that they would do well against UCLA, and I was disappointed in that. But I had Tennessee, and
Tennessee,
I really felt strong about Tennessee.
So how do you feel about them against Bama?
I like them against Bama. I really
getting 7.5
like them against Bama. I know that's a nice number.
Yes.
And so
the hook being a big key there.
Yeah, I agree. And I love the way Josh Heupel coaches. I love the way Tennessee is playing. And Alabama's kind of on the ropes now. Now they may get get some wind in their sail if Bryce Young comes back, but I don't know where that stands. I mean, what kind of miracle Alabama's going to pull to bring him back, but it was I think that this could be it. I mean, if it's ever going to happen, it'll be this week.
It's almost Tommy Hearns like where the guy is a dynamite fighter. He's got bricks in his hands, both sides, and yet that his chin is a little bit soft.
Yeah.
And as much of a champion as he is, I mean, if a guy catches him with a shot, you're going to see a different Tommy Hearns. In spite of what he did in the Hagler fight. And then later on in his career, if you tap the guy, boom, he went down. So I don't know if that's happening with Alabama, but they have been vulnerable in a couple of games. Is this close, Tony, to euphoria?
Yeah,
I was this close.
We all were. Tell Julianne I'm not getting 11. I am not getting a damn.
Everybody knows you're dealing with a different book.
Defo's got some Trumpism in him, man. He's got people believing I'm getting all these like weird numbers.
Hey, listen, man. We're not planning nuclear documents at your place. I mean, just coming in there, breaking in the FBI, breaking in through the window, smashing a window like they were at the Capitol building, and then just saying, "Hey, listen," like they were Mark Furman. Let me drop a glove off here at OJ's place.
7 and a hook. There's no reason why. Usually you get 16. Your book is screwing you if you're not even getting 11.
Yeah. But you're getting teaser spreads. You're getting teaser spreads when everybody else is playing a regular regular line. I wanted to ask you this though, because Julian also and Jim Sarney, put a thing up here on the chat line about how all these big time sports stars, including Tom Brady, LeBron James, and was it Serena Williams or somebody, are buying into this pickleball league.
Yeah.
And I don't know, are you involved in the pickleball craze? Because, I mean, I still love going out there and playing tennis. Supposed to play tonight, even on a gimpy ankle. Now, I've watched people playing pickleball. I've seen guys getting pickleball lessons. I know friends of mine are huge fans of playing pickleball, and I have no desire to play this game. I mean, it's crazy.
I have so many friends that are so into it.
Yeah.
I, like you, could care
It
less.
looks a little weak to me. I don't get it. You're not
seen
running.
I just, yeah.
The ball is like this giant plastic wiffle ball or something, and it doesn't even bounce. It was like the time I played a couple of friends of ours, that you're familiar with, Steve Wine from the Associated Press, Harvey Fialkoff, and the great Marty Fleischman, all right, from
Love
Dania
Love all those guys.
and Miami Highlight fame. And we used to play tennis together, and we decided, let's try to play grass court tennis. There was only one grass court that we knew of, and it was on Key Biscayne. They have the public park there, beautiful public facility. And you had to book the reservation, 6 months in advance to play on these grass courts. They're only available a limited amount of time. We go out there and it pours rain right up to the time that we're supposed to play. It finally stops raining, and the guy still lets us out on the court. But the ball, it didn't bounce an inch off the ground, and that's what pickleball looks like to me. Like playing with a bocce ball.
All I know is there's a public park near where I live in Florida, and it's part of my walk, part of my routine.
Nice.
And in the morning at 8:00,
they're busting it.
50 people waiting to get on this one court. It's crazy.
One court they have. That's it.
Yeah,
they have 20 of them in Pompano.
I mean, it's somebody. Sarni goes 40 million players by 2030. That's insane.
Well, it's a sport that you can play when you get a little bit older because it's less stress on your knees and your back, and that's fine. I've never watched it. Why would I want to watch it?
People are investing. People are investing in this as a.
I know.
It doesn't look that exciting to me, though. I mean, I was watching. You could appreciate this. I thought the Roger Federer send-off thing when he was in the Laver Cup there and he played doubles with Nadal. Tony, I mean, you think I'm a sports hard-on and hate everything. I teared up.
Yeah, it was great. Wasn't it?
I mean, it was great, but the competition that was going on there, it was such action with the star players they had. I mean, they had all the greatest players in there with the exception of Alcaraz, and it was fantastic. And the matches were phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I'm watching that, and then I think I flicked over to some pickleball thing that was on, where they're now televising a lot of this, and it looked like two old men in the Smith Barney commercial.
Yeah.
I say, old chap.
Yeah,
where's the excitement in this game? I don't see it.
It's not something that interests me at all
not
to even play. Yeah,
it's nuts. I mean, bull riding would be more appropriate. I would think.
I totally agree. So before we go,
all right.
Yes.
What do you think about Alabama, Tennessee?
I'm going to be rooting with everything I have in my emotional fibers, for Tennessee to win this game.
Yeah, I'm rooting with. Well, and it's almost at 8 points, and Tennessee's been good. I don't know. I still have questions for Heupel, but Hendon Hooker's legit. Their defense is solid.
What are your questions about Heupel?
Their offenses are really good. Their defenses can struggle because he does that fast-paced thing that eventually it tires out your defenses. And a lot of these teams that try to slow it down, when you do that fast pacing and they try to slow it on you, it hurts you offensively and then defensively. So I don't know. We'll see against a team like Alabama that can do both. But to me, I'm waiting for a team to go after Milroe. He's a true freshman. Unless Young's back in this game, which he may be, Milroe's played well, but he's a true freshman. At some point, and we've talked about it, the big moment, we make fun of Tony for it. The big moment is the thing that screws true freshmen. A true freshman versus a Tennessee that's top 5 now, and played really well and puts up a lot of points, so he's going to have to score. You should be able to come after that guy. So around 8 points, if you can get up to 8 points, I would take Tennessee.
And on the road, right? I mean, this kid's got to play on the road, and that's not an easy place, right? You've been there.
Knoxville, they have over 100,000 people.
Let's hope they go down, Tony. What do you think?
Yeah, I hope
they go down.
Now, what about FSU and Clemson?
Unfortunately, I got to go with Clemson.
I really don't know. I'm not gonna lie. The funny thing is, it's not the team. These fans calling for Norvell are dumb because he's not getting fired right now. But I question it's not their effort. It's not their talent. It's not the way they're playing. They had a 2-touchdown lead on the road in the late afternoon, nighttime. It's his coaching. This is now the second or third time this year where he's had the gimme in front of him, and he's LSU. Why are you pitching it? You could freaking kneel in the game. Even if your kicker sucked, he's making a 20-yarder. The same thing happened in this game. You had a field goal in your pocket to win. You're around the 20. Anything will work.
But he hates the kicker, right?
You can despise your kicker, but they were at the 20, and it was 2nd and 8. So get another 10 yards, and they were moving it down the field. Get another 10 yards, and either get the touchdown or get a field goal. But you have your quarterback run to the right, go across his body, in midfield.
He's leaning with the radical right, as you can tell there.
Well,
Tony.
no,
I
but
mean,
What I wonder is,
call.
how much was that the quarterback doing it, or the call?
I think it was all the quarterback. There's no way Norvell wants that call.
Lubie stopped just short of calling for a storming of the Capitol building in Tallahassee.
No,
well, I'm going to
with a bunch of MAGA Republicans.
I'm kind of with you. I don't know how it'll play out, but it would not surprise me if Florida State pulls this upset.
I mean, they're at home and it's night, and
it would not.
Close.
It would not.
The old joke applies to Miami. They're underdogs in the bye week. That's how bad it's got.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll get out of it. Tony, always a pleasure. What are you up to now? I mean, what presidents are you going to be be talking to? Are you going to Saudi Arabia to iron out this thing with the oil?
I'm.
Where are you going?
Next up are the board of trustees at UM. In a couple.
Oh
weeks.
yeah, and what's happening there, Tony?
It's all part of what we're doing for the oral history project for 20.
Oh, beautiful, man. Jim Larinaga, by the way, the season cranks up soon. Fourth ranked team in the ACC by whatever rankings.
Yeah, I love Jimmy. I think. Listen,
lost two of his big scores, but brought in a transfer kid.
I cannot tell you. I know that I went there and I did their games and all their coaches shows. I got the tie that and I understand. And I love the University of Miami. They're my school. I mean, when you go there and you
be true to your school.
Yeah. So, but I love what's going on. I love what's going on campus. I love it. I feel that things will be moving in the right direction. There's going to be some, we're going to take it on the chin a few times, and there's going to be, we're going to get off the canvas, but it's going to take some time, and you just gotta be patient here and not be jumping off ship. And just because it's in vogue, like we said earlier, to fire your coach and bring in somebody new, every time you do that, you set your program back 2 or 3 years. Every single time you do that. So you need to understand that. Why in the world would Nebraska, why I mean, all these schools that are firing these guys so early, because now the two people they want is the guy
Matt Rule.
But Lance, the guy at where the heck he's at what's his first name is Lance. Why don't I remember?
I don't even know. Good for you.
Got me, baby. All right, Tony, maybe we should leave on this senior moment because we got to get out of here, man. Like, nobody knows what you're talking about. Neither of us can save you, unfortunately, because we've lost our memory and aren't following this closely enough to really have a comment on it anyway. Yeah, Tony, we love you, man. I mean, good luck with the trustees today.
Yeah, thank you.
When I think of trustees, I think of prison trustees.
That's next week. Did you put the check in the mail, by the way?
I did, yeah.
He did. He's actually been on it. He's been doing his thing.
We're right on top of it, baby. Yeah. No, if I tell you I sent it, I sent it.
Okay. He's been on
My mailman didn't come till like 6 o'clock though last night. What was he doing? I'm not sure. Was he out smoking weed? At lunchtime? Maybe at one of our sponsors on the lunchbox. We get cheesesteaks or something. 6 o'clock, and what do I get? Nothing except casino come-ons, Tony. That's all I get.
That's about right.
Come here, come there. We'll fly you here. We'll fly you there, and they're all after the Mustangs slot money. It's ridiculous. All right, Tony. We'll see you next time. Always a pleasure, my friend.
Have a great day.
And let's arrange that Texas Roadhouse luncheon with Tony Segreto.
Yeah, when he's back next time.
Lance who, man? Now it's going to drive me crazy.
I don't know about Lance. Good for him. I don't know.
All right. If you didn't catch it yesterday, log on to our Believe podcast, After Hours with Defo and Lubie. That's BLEAV Network. And Tara Lipinski was a lot of fun yesterday. We talked a little bit about Johnny Weir on the interview that we did, and it was posted yesterday. I know a lot of people may not be familiar with it, but Believe podcast, and she's a very enjoyable person.
Arnie loved it. Arnie thought she was great.
Who did? Oh, Jim Sarney. Yeah.
Listen.
No, I mean, that's one of those ones, Libby. I wish you could circle back with these people and say, hey, maybe we could get her on for a more significant period of time.
With her, yeah.
Because, I mean, the Johnny Weir stuff alone was going to take me an hour to get through. And she went on too long about the new show. I mean, so it's like, listen, Tara, we have other material here.
Good for you, but.
All right, see what you can do about that, man, because I found her delightful. And actually, she has, I must have a zillion stories about the skating thing. Holy Tanya Harding.
The one on Olympic gold, yes.
Olympic gold in figure skating. I mean, there was a period there where certain American favorites were going to end up winning the thing, right? But it wasn't a certainty all the time. And, it had to be a weird experience, right? Because, I mean, look how these people, it's such a, they're literally on thin ice, right? Wouldn't that be the headline? Every time. Lipinski on thin ice. But she won the gold medal. She was a heavy favorite, and I think she like ran away with the thing like it was never in doubt.
Yeah, she was great. No, she was a legend.
Tremendous, yeah. And then this Johnny Weir thing at the Kentucky Derby. I mean, could there be a bigger departure from the people you're trying to appeal to or who commonly are associated with the game than Lipinski and Johnny Weir hosting Kentucky Derby interviews?
Exactly.
And Johnny Weir is picking horses for you. And you're thinking of this guy with like a 3-day stubble who hasn't bathed or showered in a couple of days, and is trying to steal some guy's racing form off the bar, and that's the guy that's watching. As Johnny Weir goes, I love the 10.
Oh, it probably is the Kansas head coach. Well, good for Tony for knowing that.
Yeah,
good for Julian for saving Tony's arse.
Oh, Lance Leopold. Yeah, it's good. Is that how you say his name, Leopold?
I would think
Julian,
so.
Good job, Julian, all day long, man. Julian's been on top of it. All right, we'll see you guys next time. Check out that Lipinski thing on Believe. And then tomorrow we'll put up our thing with Brandon Lang, which has been hysterical. And if you're looking for handicapping, I mean, it's an interesting dynamic that we had to our Degenerate Friday contingent, having Brandon Lang on our Believe podcast. And then Mike Mayo with the lunchbox. And maybe, I mean, I don't know. I don't think, I wish Mustang had shot some video of him on a dance floor.
Yeah, okay, I was going to ask you. You're talking about him dancing. I'm like, I didn't know he was dancing. Like, no one told me he was dancing. I'm like, how did you know he was dancing? I didn't realize you were, like, with him.
He was there, yeah. I mean, he came out to see Matt Schofield, which was a freebie, which was, indicative of the fact that South Florida has maybe, I mean, the best music scene. I would imagine, in LA, you could go see some great acts,
New Orleans, playing. And why?
This is better than New Orleans. I believe that. I know that seems like an outrageous statement.
That's impressive.
But if these guys ever assembled in a bar in New Orleans, it would have been like not uncommon maybe to see like Wynton Marsalis show up and play with these guys. Yeah, this is top-notch stuff that was going on at a dive bar in the middle of like Lighthouse Point. All right, we will and Mayo gave the thumbs up to the chicken quesadilla, which that was the place where he had condemned the tacos, which are very good without even trying them. So that was great. All right, well. The Mayo New Dance Show. Yeah, that's a great idea. Jim Sarney says we should have Dancing with Mike Mayo. That's Mayeaux in honor of his new French-Canadian citizenship. Because he's bitching about a $5 glass of seltzer. All right, we'll see you at 12 o'clock, too, with Mike Mayo as well, as we leave you on that.
The time.
It was good to see him happy, though, Lubie. You know what I mean? Like, he sometimes seems a little bit down. Would you agree?
Yes. He starts most shows down, and then we have to wake him up. It's like
right. You don't know if you want to order him a drink or a razor blade. Which one he'll get more joy out of? Yeah. I love the guy, though. I really do. It's 9:12.
Let's go to eat a damn snack.
Look what they done to my show.